Chapter 654. How could the three yellow dragon loose demons imagine that Ning Fan actually had an immortal talisman in his hand, which allowed him to increase his speed to that of a loose immortal in an instant? However, he saw 3 loose demons and 4 escaping. In an instant, they had already disappeared. Ning Fan held the purple golden snake spear and chased after them with the help of the immortal talisman. The cultivators in the dragon-raising pond were dead silent. They had guessed the ending, but not the result. Everyone thought that Ning Fan would not be able to escape death. All of them thought that the Hall of Origin would be in grave danger today. Who would have thought that it would end up like this? Suppressing Dragon, Ning Fan actually had a dragon-suppressing treasure which allowed him to slaughter hundreds of experts of the Yellow Dragon realm all by himself. Moreover, he even killed old ancestor Qing Shao with a single strike of his spear. As such, he took out an immortal talisman and chased after the 3 rogue demons. In the demon realm, when had there ever been a scene where 3 loose demons were being hunted down? Old ancestor Bai Mu chased 3 rogue demons with his soul destruction cultivation base. The dragon-suppressing treasure, the dragon-suppressing treasure. Sigh. If it wasn't for the fact that life immortal and true immortal experts couldn't descend to the lower world, I'm afraid many almighty experts would be more than happy to descend to the lower world to seize this dragon-suppressing treasure. For Patriarch Bai Mu to possess such a treasure, he really is someone blessed with great fortune. It would be fine if the ones dealing with him were other demon cultivators from the upper realm. However, if it's the cultivators from the dragon clan, no matter how many loose demons there are, they won't be enough for him to kill. Each of the old monsters gradually began to sigh with emotion. Their reverence towards Ning Fan instantly rose to an extremely high level. The old Fox Emperor and the old Crimson Emperor were regretting their decision. If they knew that Ning Fan had the dragon-suppressing treasure and was not afraid of the yellow dragon loose demons, they would certainly have stood up for him like the old Yuan Emperor and tried to befriend him. Unfortunately, they did not make the right choice and lost the best opportunity to befriend him. It's easy to add flowers to a brocade, but it's hard to provide charcoal in snowy weather. For example, the old Yuan Emperor who stood out at the most critical moment of Ning Fan's life would certainly gain Ning Fan's goodwill. Old Monster Tan, did you bet the entire Yuan Palace to protect Bai Mu because you knew this would happen? The old Crimson Emperor smiled bitterly. Sigh. How would I know that this would happen? Dragon-suppressing treasure, dragon-suppressing treasure. The old primitive emperor looked at Tan Zixin with a sigh. He had found the dragon-subduing spirit iron when he was young, but the spirit iron itself was too polluted and could not be used for spirit attachment. Even when he was old, the spirit iron had not been put to any use. In the end, it had been given to his granddaughter, Tan Zixin, as a birthday present. Tan Zixin loves smithing, right? I'll just give this useless spiritual metal to her to play with. Who would have thought that Tan Zixin could remove the turbid qi from the spirit iron and attach it to the fishing rod? Sigh. Zixin made a dragon-suppressing treasure, but she didn't give it to her own grandpa, but to Bai Mu. A grown girl can't be kept at home. Seeing that Ning Fan was no longer in danger, Tan Zixin heaved a sigh of relief. When she saw how the Tai Gong fishing net that she made was so helpful to Ning Fan, she could not help but feel a sense of sweetness in her heart. The reason why she made the fishing rod for Ning Fan was because she wanted him to fish up the Yin Yang dragons to treat the old Yuan Emperor's injuries. However, at this moment, she felt that it would be a good thing if the Tai Gong fishing net she made could protect Ning Fan from harm. This little girl is really generous to little Fan Fan. The little demoness curled her lips, feeling a sense of loss and gain for no reason. When Ning Fan took out his dragon-suppressing treasure and went on a killing spree, she was truly shocked. When she saw that Ning Fan was out of danger, she was truly relieved. When she realized that she did not help Ning Fan at all, but Tan Zixin helped him a lot, the little demoness felt a sense of emptiness in her heart. It was as if her little Fan Fan had been snatched away by another woman. Was I too immersed in acting as little Fan Fan's Dao companion, to think that I would be jealous because of him? The little demoness shook her head, dispelling the negative emotions in her heart, revealing her usual black-bellied eyes once again. I am the successor of the divine void realm, and he is the successor of the ancient chaos realm. According to the primogenitor's order, I can only pester him for a lifetime, but I can't fall in love with him." She seemed to have found her own position again, giggling. Little Fan is really a master who attracts bees and butterflies. She turned her head and ordered Li Long, who was dumbfounded at the side, "Keep those things. Your master's favorite thing to do is to kill people and seize their treasures. I left in a hurry just now, so I didn't have the time to keep these treasures. You have to help him keep them well." The little demoness pointed her finger at the sky. In the sky, the corpses and demon blood of the cultivators of the Yellow Dragon tribe who were killed by Ning Fan kept falling from the sky. As Ning Fan was in a hurry, he did not even have the time to collect the spoils of war. At this moment, many of the old monsters regained their senses, staring at the countless spoils of war with greedy and fiery eyes. Be it the storage pouches, demon corpses or demon blood, all of them were good things that were hard to come by. Many of the old monsters were ready to make a move and fight for them. "Ah, thank you for reminding me, mistress. I will help my master collect the treasures now." Li Long regained his senses and rose into the sky without saying a word, collecting all the storage pouches, demon corpses and demon blood that were falling from the sky. His eyes were filled with ferocity, as if he would attack anyone who dared to snatch Ning Fan's spoils of war. He was a dignified seventh breaking realm cultivator. Naturally, no one would dare to snatch Ning Fan's spoils of war under his nose. "My master has gone to hunt down 3 rogue demons. I wonder when he will return." Li Long muttered to himself while keeping the treasures. His eyes gradually lit up with excitement. His master was currently hunting down 3 loose demons. Just thinking about it made his blood boil. His admiration towards Ning Fan grew stronger. The 3 rogue demons of the Yellow Dragon tribe fled to the north, out of the Tian Yuan continent. Ning Fan went all the way to the north, chasing after them with all his might. He did not want to let any of them go. Since he had already become enemies with the Yellow Dragon tribe, he naturally had to kill all the rogue demons in the tribe. It was not that he had never thought of taking the 3 rogue demons as his slaves. It was just that it was not feasible. When he killed old ancestor Cheng Xiao just now, he sensed that someone had planted a demon seal in his body. It seemed to be done by a life immortal realm cultivator of the Yellow Dragon tribe. Ning Fan guessed that the 3 rogue demons in front of him were probably also planted with a demon seal by that life immortal realm cultivator. Their lives were in the hands of that life immortal realm cultivator and they could no longer be Ning Fan's slaves. As such, Ning Fan could only carry the determination to kill the 3 of them. He chased after them all the way and swore to eliminate them. How can this Bai Mu's speed be so fast? The hearts of the 3 rogue demons gradually sank. Just as they were considering if it was necessary for them to split up and flee, a ray of golden purple light suddenly pierced through the air from behind and nailed one of them to the sky. The other 2 rogue demons who were lucky enough to survive felt even more terrified. Without any hesitation, they split up and fled in different directions, one to the east and the other to the west. Ning Fan chased after them along the way and casually kept the corpse of the rogue demon into his storage pouch. His eyes were filled with disdain. "Do you think you can escape? Die." He raised his golden-purple snake spear once again and thrust it towards the west from a distance. The purple light instantly pierced through 1,000,000 li and killed the rogue demon who was fleeing to the west. After that, Ning Fan kept the demon's corpse and storage pouch and chased after them all the way to the east. Even old monster Yen has been killed. Hearing the blood-curdling screams coming from the west, the fear in the hearts of the rogue demons who were fleeing to the east increased. Ning Fan's dragon-suppressing treasure was really too terrifying. Ordinary cultivators of the dragon clan did not have any ability to resist such a magic treasure at all. This was the reason why countless old monsters of the 4 heavens yearned for the dragon-suppressing spiritual iron during the realm war. If they have the dragon-suppressing treasure, they would almost certainly win against the cultivators of the 10,000 true dragon clans who were at the same level as them during the realm war. During the Realm War, the old monsters of the True Dragon clan would usually kill the cultivators who possessed the dragon-suppressing treasure first to avoid the casualties of their clans. After witnessing Ning Fan's incredible dragon-slaying speed and witnessing the death of the other 3 rogue demons, the last rogue demon did not have the courage to fight back at all. When he saw Ning Fan catching up to him again, he felt despair. He knew that he could no longer escape from Ning Fan. The life immortal of his clan had already planted a demon seal on him. Thus, he could no longer recognize Ning Fan as his master to protect his life. He knew that he no longer had a chance to survive other than fighting Ning Fan with his life. Fine. Fine. Since I can't escape death, I will perish together with you. The white hair of the rogue demon danced wildly in the air. He performed hand seals with all 10 of his fingers, and the dragon horns on his head shone with a strange blood-red light. He knew that he would not be able to escape death. Thus, at the cost of his own life, he displayed an immortal technique in an attempt to perish together with Ning Fan. Immortal technique, Bloodthirsty Dragon. The rogue demon's face was filled with madness. He glared at Ning Fan with extreme hatred. With a shake of his body, he turned into a 50,000 zhang large dragon. His body was surrounded by blood-red light. He suddenly opened his dragon mouth and spurted out billions of rays of blood-red light. In an instant, all living beings in the sea domain within 10 million li were annihilated. The billions of rays of blood-red light gathered towards Ning Fan, as if they wanted to melt him into a pool of blood. Within the blood-red light, all the spatial zones were sealed, making it impossible for him to escape into the small kiliacosm. After displaying this technique, the eyes of the giant dragon gradually became blank. He was not far from death. Then, he withdrew his dragon form and fell towards the sea domain below. Bai Mu. I want to see you die under this technique with my own eyes. He tried his best to maintain his last trace of consciousness. His eyes were bloodshot. He would only be satisfied after seeing Ning Fan die under this technique with his own eyes. He did not believe that Ning Fan, who was just at the first heavenly layer of the void fragmentation realm, could withstand his life-risking technique. Immortal technique, huh? This technique isn't something that I can withstand. However, I can protect myself with this talisman. Ning Fan patted his storage pouch and took out 2 pieces of immortal commanding talisman. He then placed them on his chest. All of a sudden, 2 layers of immortal power rose around his body, blocking all of the blood-red light outside the light barrier. When 70% of the power of the blood-red light was used up, the first layer of the light barrier was gradually penetrated by the blood-red light. In the end, the remaining blood-red light failed to penetrate the second layer of the light barrier and did not hurt Ning Fan at all. A single piece of immortal commanding talisman was enough to withstand an attack from a rogue immortal. Even if it was a desperate attack from a rogue demon, it would not be able to penetrate 2 layers of immortal power. Die! Ning Fan raised his purple-golden snake spear and pierced it towards the rogue demon. However, a purple light flashed and the rogue demon was already pinned to death in the sky. He actually has so many immortal talismans in his hands. The rogue demon breathed his last and died with his eyes wide open. Ning Fan kept his storage pouch and corpse. Then, he stopped using the incarnation technique and soul extracting technique. He turned the snake spear back into the form of a fishing rod and found a demon island nearby to recover his magic power. Even though the Taigong fishing technique was powerful, it consumed a lot of magic power. At this moment, Ning Fan had killed 4 rogue demons, 39 void fragmentation realm cultivators and hundreds of absolute void realm cultivators. His magic power was almost depleted. It took him a whole day to recover his magic power. One day later, Ning Fan returned to Tianyuan City. The dragon fishing convention had naturally come to an end. However, the cultivators in the city did not leave. They were still waiting for Ning Fan's return. They really wanted to know the result of Ning Fan's pursuit of the 3 rogue demons. When they saw Ning Fan return unscathed and the terrifying baleful chi on his body, they knew that Ning Fan had successfully killed all the yellow dragons and rogue demons. At this moment, Ning Fan's baleful qi was so strong that it was enough to move all the rogue demons. As he walked into Tianyuan City step by step, no one actually dared to stand within 10,000 zhang of him. None of them dared to meet Ning Fan's eyes, which were filled with baleful qi. After killing 4 rogue demons in a row, Ning Fan's baleful qi had increased tremendously. He still could not retract it into his body within a short period of time. Then, he returned to the Demon River Palace. Little Demoness, Tan Zixin and Hua Yu were waiting for his return. As for Li Long, the moment Ning Fan returned, he offered all the spoils of war that Ning Fan did not take away that day to him. All of you can go and have a rest. I need to go into seclusion for another day. Miss Zixin, please return to the Origin Palace and wait for me. I will head to the Origin Palace one day later to treat the old primitive emperor's injuries. As soon as he finished speaking, Ning Fan smiled gratefully at everyone and returned to his room. He sat down cross-legged to regulate his breathing and gradually retracted the baleful qi into his body. Master must have already killed all the 3 rogue demons who escaped. The baleful qi in his eyes is so strong. It's not something I can withstand. Li Long only made eye contact with Ning Fan for a moment and his qi instantly became chaotic. Even his Dao heart was tainted by his baleful qi. The baleful qi that Ning Fan used to kill the 4 rogue demons was extremely strong. How could he withstand it? Seeing that Ning Fan had returned unscathed, Little Demoness, Tan Zixin and Hua Yu heaved a sigh of relief. Li Long was the first to leave. He needed to go into seclusion immediately to erase the taint of baleful qi on his Dao heart. This taint was unintentionally planted by Ning Fan's consciousness. It was not difficult to erase it. Tan Zixin bid farewell and left. She wanted to return to the Origin Palace to make some preparations. After another day, Ning Fan would need to treat the old primitive emperor's injuries. Hua Yu also left on her own. She wanted to tell the other female cultivators of the Light Feather clan that Ning Fan was safe and sound. Eventually, Little Demoness was the only one left in the main hall. She sent a message transmitting flying sword towards He Shirshio's direction. There was only one sentence in her voice. Half a year later, I'll retrieve the immortal burning diagram. Her tone was very distant. She did not have a good impression of He Shirshio at all. Ning Fan was probably the only man who could leave a good impression on her. 3 days later, the appearance-changing pill will completely lose its effect. It's time to return to the Rain World. After an entire day, Ning Fan finally managed to suppress the baleful qi that he obtained after killing the 4 rogue demons. His eyes gradually became clear and he began to organize all the spoils of war that he obtained this time. There were more than 200 storage pouches. Most of them belonged to Absolute Void Stage cultivators, 39 of them belonged to Void Fragmentation Realm cultivators and 4 of them belonged to rogue demons. There were a total of 50 billion immortal jade. All of them were immortal jade that could only be found in the storage pouches of Absolute Void Stage cultivators. In the demon spirit land of the upper world, the main currency was Dao crystals. There were not many immortal jade. Unfortunately, the cultivation bases of the 39 Void Fragmentation Realm cultivators were not high. All of them could still absorb the Dao crystals to advance to the next level. Therefore, the remaining Dao crystals that they had were not many. Just like Chen Huang, he had just broken through to the 3rd heavenly layer of the Void Fragmentation Realm and used up all of his Dao crystals. Thus, his storage pouch was very poor. Ning Fan did not care about it at all. In these 200+ storage pouches, there were a total of 2.7 million Dao crystals. Most of them belonged to the 4 rogue demons. Since the 4 rogue demons had cultivated to such a level, they no longer needed to absorb the power of the Dao crystals. Thus, there were a lot of them left. This made Ning Fan's eyes brighten. Together with these Dao crystals, he already had 3.22 million Dao crystals, which was equivalent to 16 trillion immortal jade. Of course, Ning Fan would not exchange the Dao crystals for immortal jade. That was something only a fool would do. If he has enough time in the future, he would refine all of the Tao crystals in one go to increase his cultivation base. All of the 4 rogue demons had decent cultivation methods which could allow them to cultivate the yellow dragon bloodline. To Ning Fan, who possessed the Fuli demon bloodline, these cultivation methods were naturally not attractive at all. However, if he gives them to Li Long, it would be quite beneficial. He pointed a finger at those cultivation methods and displayed the vortex space technique, directly transferring them to Li Long. This was also one of the great uses of the vortex space technique. Apart from that, the 4 rogue demons each cultivated an immortal technique. All of them required the yellow dragon bloodline to activate the power of their abilities. Among them was the bloodthirsty dragon technique. Ning Fan did not plan to cultivate these 4 immortal techniques. Thus, he gave them to Li Long. Other than the Tao crystals, what tempted Ning Fan a little was the harvest of pills. After killing so many void fragmentation realm and rogue demons, he naturally obtained a lot of pills that could improve his cultivation base. What made Ning Fan the most was that there was actually a low-grade 8th revolution pill in old ancestor Qing Zhao's storage pouch. Demon Divine Pill. This pill was a type of healing pill that specialized in treating injuries on the demon's soul and primordial spirit. I can keep this pill for little Yu'er. Ning Fan smiled in satisfaction. After sorting out the harvest in his storage pouch, Ning Fan began to sort out the large number of demon corpses and demon blood. All of the demon blood was stored in the Xian Wei blood gourd to brew blood wine. There were so many experts' blood and there were even 4 rogue demons among them. If the blood wine is successfully brewed, it would probably be enough to improve his cultivation base. However, the grade of the raw materials used to brew the blood wine this time was higher. Thus, the time needed to brew the wine would naturally not be short. It would take at least 100 years. How should I deal with these demon corpses? Most of the demon corpses were damaged. Otherwise, they could be sold for a good price and be used by others to possess others. If Ning Fan devours them, the amount of magic power he could gain from these demon corpses was very limited. Ning Fan could not help but think about the matter of finding a female corpse for little Yu'er. Until now, he still had no clue about this matter and he did not know where to look for it. While he was pondering, a low cry suddenly came from the cauldron ring. Shriek, it was Nye Li's voice. She seemed to really want these damaged demon corpses. Ning Fan's eyes involuntarily lit up. Does Nye Li want to absorb the demon power within these corpses? If that's the case, I'll just let her devour them. However, I have to deal with these corpses first. Otherwise, it will be too disgusting if Nye Li devours them. Ning Fan himself had done something like eating a corpse raw before. However, he was not willing to let his demon pet do the same thing. He took out several broken corpses and mixed them with spirit herbs, casually condensing them into blood-red pills. He only extracted the essence of the corpses and removed all the impurities. After that, Ning Fan entered the cauldron world and gave Nye Li 200 blood-red pills to consume. These pills contained the essence of the physical bodies of 39 void fragmentation realm experts and 4 rogue demons. After Nye Li consumed all of the pills, her purple eyes glowed with a faint light. She began to circulate a secret technique to absorb the power of these pills. She slowly lay on the ground and a gigantic purple-black demon cocoon gradually formed around her body. She was actually going to advance to the next level. She was going to break through to the 6th heavenly layer of the void fragmentation realm. After all, her cultivation base would naturally improve tremendously after devouring the physical bodies of 4 rogue demons. Shriek. She let out a low cry filled with gratitude towards Ning Fan. Oh. So Nye Li needs to devour the corpses of demon beasts in order to advance to the next level? Ning Fan muttered to himself in hindsight. If that's the case, I'll just refine the corpses of my enemies into pills and feed them to Nye Li in the future. To Ning Fan, the improvement of Nye Li's strength was naturally a good thing. Other than Li Long, there was no other demon servant that was more trustworthy than Nye Li. With my current strength, Moksha Sovereign is no longer a threat to me. Ning Fan smiled and left the cauldron world and the temporary residence, heading straight to the palace of Yuan. Today, he would treat the old Yuan sovereign's injuries. Then, he would leave the demon world and return to the rain world. Of course, he did not forget about buying primordial clear pills from the palace of Yuan. However, at this moment, treating the old Yuan sovereign's injuries was his top priority. That was why he bought the primordial clear pills before he left. His traveling light flew across Tianyuan City. The cultivators in the city avoided him like a tiger or a wolf, not daring to have any contact with him. After the great battle with the Yellow Dragon clan, Bai Mu's fearsome name had shaken the entire demon world. Everyone was afraid of him. In a certain temporary residence, he Shishio sensed Ning Fan's traveling light flying across the sky. He clenched his fists tightly inside. Is this the reason why Xiao Qianxi took a fancy to Bai Mu? He has the dragon-suppressing treasure which allowed him to slaughter all the dragons of the Yellow Dragon clan. It's not like he doesn't have any other trump cards that could easily kill me. I can't afford to offend him. He Shishio closed his eyes in a dispirited manner. He could no longer bring out his pride in front of Ning Fan. Half a year later, the immortal seeking map. Half a year, huh? He Shishio turned around and said to Gong Yangzi, Xianhua, and Yunyu. You guys return to your own worlds first. I'll see you in the rain world half a year later. In the ape palace of the Eastern Demon Sea. The ape sovereign was holding a piece of information in his hand. His face was pale and red. After a long while, he let out a long sigh. As for his good disciple, Yuan Tong, his face was already as pale as dead ash. He kept muttering something under his breath. Bai Mu can actually kill a rogue demon. Bai Mu can actually kill a rogue demon. In the Yellow Dragon clan in the demon spirit land of the upper world, in the territory of the 10,000 true dragon clans. The old ancestor of the life immortal realm who was in charge of the Yellow Dragon clan looked at the shattered life tablets of the experts in the clan's temple. His face was filled with fear. He was scared out of his wits. The cultivators that were sent to the lower world this time consisted of 4 rogue demons, 39 void fragmentation realm cultivators and more than 200 absolute void stage cultivators. However, all of them were killed by a single person. The tablet of Dragon's resentment was engraved with the words Bai Mu. Could this Bai Mu be a life immortal realm cultivator? It's fine that he killed Chen Huang, but he actually killed 4 rogue demons. He was a life immortal realm cultivator. Unless his true body suppressed his cultivation base, he would not be able to descend to the lower world. If he suppresses his cultivation base, he could only suppress it to the rogue demon realm at most. Thus, he did not dare to provoke this Bai Mu. He did not continue to send rogue demons to kill Bai Mu. There were originally 7 rogue demons in the Yellow Dragon clan. After 4 of them died, there were only 3 of them left. If the remaining 3 of them were to die as well, the Yellow Dragon clan's vitality would be greatly damaged. If he also went to the lower world and died as well, it would be even worse. Old ancestor, this Bai Mu has killed so many cultivators of our Yellow Dragon clan. We must avenge him. One of the rogue demons said angrily. Send a spirit-severing realm demon general who is eloquent to the demon world to find out where the people of the Yellow Dragon clan died and condemn the forces here. Condemn? Aren't we going to hunt them down? Another rogue demon said in surprise. Hunt them down? Are you going, or should I suppress my cultivation base and go? That Bai Mu can easily kill 4 rogue demons. Do you dare to go? Anyway, I don't dare to go. If you dare to go, I won't stop you. Old ancestor life immortal harumphed coldly. The expressions of the 3 rogue demons changed immediately. They all lowered their heads and dared not question their old ancestor anymore. Similarly, they did not dare to go after Bai Mu. Who was Bai Mu? He killed 4 rogue demons and all the members of the Yellow Dragon clan who went to the lower world. The tablet of Dragon's resentment was engraved with Bai Mu's name. Bai Mu, Bai Mu, Bai Mu, this was a malefic star that the Yellow Dragon clan could not afford to offend. let's send someone to condemn him. It's good to condemn him. It won't trouble the people and it won't hurt the wealth. Hee hee. However, everyone understood that condemnation was useless in the face of a ferocious devil like Bai Mu. In the demon world, Tianyuan continent, Tianyuan city, outside the Origin Palace. As soon as Ning Fan descended, Great Elder Zhou Nan and a group of cultivators from the Origin Palace came to welcome him. Each of the Void Fragmentation Realm experts looked at Ning Fan with eyes filled with deep respect. They knew that Ning Fan was a ruthless man who had killed 4 rogue demons in a row. Hee hee. Fellow Taoist Bai Mu is finally here. The old Origin Emperor has been waiting for you in the Heart-Nurturing Palace for a long time. The old Origin Emperor has told me that if fellow Taoist comes, you can directly go to the Heart-Nurturing Palace. Although Zhou Nan was smiling, his eyes were filled with respect. Even though Ning Fan had slightly suppressed the baleful qi that he had just obtained, Zhou Nan could still sense a bloody qi from Ning Fan's body. When he thought that the baleful qi was left behind by the 4 rogue demons, Zhou Nan naturally could not remain calm. Chapter 655. After exchanging a few pleasantries with Zhou Nan, Ning Fan entered the Hall of Origin alone. Naturally, no one stopped him along the way. Walking past the pavilions, he slowly made his way to the Mental Nurturing Palace. His pace was not fast as he recalled his gains from this trip to the demon realm. Dragon Soul and Dragon Pearl, Tao Comprehension of Life and Death, Divine Sense Enhancement, Taigong Fishing and the Corpse of the Whitewood Green Yang Body, Azure Sun. I've finally found the second Yang spirit of the Steel of Sun and Moon. If I have enough time, I can devour the Steel of Sun and Moon to upgrade the profound Yin world and increase the might of the Steel of Sun and Moon. Ning Fan's body was still under the Immortal Realm seal, which contained the Purple Sun force of the 3 realms sect masters. Unless Ning Fan completely understood the meaning of life and death, he would not be able to break this seal and he would not be able to absorb the power of the Purple Sun for the time being. However, one day, he would be able to devour the power of the Purple Sun at will. The second Yang had been found. As for the second Yin, at the moment, Luo Yu was the only candidate. If the second Yang and the second Yin were gathered, the Steel of Sun and Moon would be able to unleash a Life Immortal's attack. The attack of a Life Immortal was as powerful as a real immortal art. Rogue immortals might be able to withstand it, but no one below the 9 Shattering Realm would be able to withstand the attack of a Life Immortal. Of course, if someone also had a trump card like the Rain Emperor's Celestial Commanding Talisman, then it would be a different story. After reaching the Void Fragmentation Realm, a single Steel of Sun and Moon was not enough to suppress all the cultivators at the same cultivation level. Although the Steel of Sun and Moon can be used as a trump card, it's just a foreign object after all. No matter how powerful the Taigong Fishing is, it's only useful for demonic dragons. I need some time to refine all the pills, Tao crystals and opportunities in my hands. My cultivation base still needs to be improved. The Yangxin Palace Hall was already right in front of them. Tan Zixin was eagerly waiting for Ning Fan's arrival outside the hall. When she saw Ning Fan, who was dressed in white robes, slowly walking towards her, Tan Zixin's breathing suddenly stagnated. It was as if her heart was being grabbed by an invisible hand. Her face was slightly hot. She had never experienced such a feeling since she started cultivating. Until she met Ning Fan, Senior Bai Mu, you're here. Tan Zixin concealed her panic and embarrassment very well, trying her best to appear calm. However, how could she hide her subtle expression from Ning Fan? When Ning Fan recalled the scene where she stood in front of him resolutely, he let out a soft sigh. How could he not know that this woman had fallen in love with him? Ever since he started cultivating, he had never deliberately pursued a woman, but there were many women who were moved by him. Furthermore, he had not returned home for a long time. Unknowingly, he had let many people down. The Taigong Fishing you refined is very good, it's very helpful to me. Thank you for stepping forward that day. Ning Fan approached and cupped his fists to express his gratitude. Tan Zixin immediately lowered her head and said softly, you don't have to thank me. You pay me immortal jades, I refine a fishing rod for you, it's only right and proper. You saved my grandpa, so it's only natural for me to help you. If you really want to thank me, then protect yourself and don't provoke a colossus like the Yellow Dragon clan anymore. I have a lot of enemies and I've already provoked them. There are countless of them that are stronger than the Yellow Dragon clan. Let's not talk about this. Is Senior Tan in the hall? N. Elder is waiting for you in the hall. Senior Bai Mu, can Zixin ask you a question? Sure. I heard from Grandpa that you will most likely leave Tian Yuan after treating him. Where are you going? Back to the White Feather Demon Sea. Actually, you can consider staying in the Origin Hall. Really? I'm going to a place that's very far away from the demon world. I'm not a cultivator of the demon world, so I'll have to leave eventually. I won't hide this secret from you. What? Senior isn't a cultivator of the demon world. Senior will leave the demon world. Tan Zixin's bright eyes suddenly trembled and her heart felt empty. She originally thought that Ning Fan was a cultivator of the demon world. Even if he left Tian Yuan, he would still be in the demon world and they would meet again. However, she did not expect that Ning Fan would be honest with her and admit that he was not a cultivator of the demon world. Then, Ning Fan was really not old ancestor Bai Mu of the White Feather clan, because he had already said that he was not a cultivator of the demon world. Then, who is Ning Fan's real identity? I actually don't even know who he is. Tan Zixin bit her lips and her expression suddenly became a little sour and self-deprecating. If Ning Fan leaves this time, she wouldn't even know his real identity, let alone where he would go. Then, she would really never see him again. What she said made Ning Fan sigh even more deeply in his heart. Before I leave, I will tell you my real identity. Ning Fan said indifferently. Currently, he still had countless affairs to attend to. It was impossible for him to stay in the demon world and he could not give Tan Zixin any comfort. Perhaps, the only thing he could do was to tell her his real identity. As soon as he finished speaking, Ning Fan stepped into the Yang Xian Palace. Outside the palace, Tan Zixin's eyes were suddenly filled with anticipation. Before he leaves, he will tell her his real identity. That's good. If she knows who he is, there will be a day when they meet again. I heard what you said to Zixin, young friend. Actually, you can consider bringing Zixin back to the Rain World. I don't have any objections. In the Yang Xian Palace, the old primitive emperor, Tan Tianyan, sighed. He had already seen the affection his granddaughter had for Ning Fan. Thus, he naturally wanted to matchmake them. It's good for her to stay here. Her family is here and she won't be lonely. If she goes to the Rain World, she can only wait. I won't stay in the Rain World for too long. I've been busy my whole life and rarely have any time to rest. Ning Fan smiled bitterly. So what if he took Tan Zixin away? She would only be left with endless waiting. Since that was the case, it was better to wait in the demon realm. There would always be family around, so they wouldn't be lonely, right? Let's not talk about this anymore. I have already brought the Yin Yang Dragon Pearl, and it can immediately help Senior heal. May I know where Senior wishes to heal? When the Yin and Yang of the demon soul fuses together, it will produce a huge wave. It's best to heal yourself in a place where there's no one around. You don't have to worry about hurting others. Ning Fan advised. Ha, this old man has already thought of your concerns. Let's recuperate in this treasure. As soon as the old Yuan emperor finished speaking, he took out a silver pearl from his sleeve. The bead was only an inch in diameter, and it was engraved with mysterious patterns. Even though it was lying quietly in the palm of the old primitive emperor, it was still emitting a strong force of heavenly cave. Superior Grotto Heaven treasure. No, that's not right, this treasure contains more than one high-grade Grotto Heaven. Ning Fan, who cultivated the whirlpool spatial technique, had a keen sense towards the power of his heavenly dwelling. With just a single glance, he could tell that this small silver pearl was extraordinary. Hee, little friend, you have good eyesight. Even I and the other two rogue demons of the demon world couldn't see the power of this treasure from its surface. Just like what little friend said, this is a superior grotto heaven treasure called the Heavenly Abode Pearl. However, it doesn't contain just one high-grade grotto heaven, but an infinite number of them. Little friend, you seem to have cultivated a powerful spatial technique, right? Tan Tianyan recalled the whirlpool spatial technique that Ning Fan displayed the other day and asked with a smile. Yes. Ning Fan didn't need to deny it. This pearl originally contained the Tao of life and death, but this Tao has been taken away by me. To me, this treasure is just a dispensable magical treasure. However, it might be of great use to little friend. After you're done recuperating, you'll have to leave the demon world. I don't have many good friends in my life, but I happen to have a kindred spirit with you. Before I leave, I'd like to give this pearl to you. I hope you won't reject it. Tan Tianyan's eyes were filled with sincerity. He had always been straightforward in his actions. He would treat anyone he found pleasing to his eyes, even if that person was just a mortal. If he disliked someone, even if that person was a demon cultivator from the demon world, he would also dare to disobey him. This pearl wasn't as useless to him as he said. However, he had heard that Ning Fan had bought some high-grade heavenly abode treasures when he arrived at Tianyuan City. Tan Tianyan guessed that Ning Fan's spatial ability could only be cultivated by devouring the power of a high-grade heavenly abode. It was hard to obtain a high-grade heavenly abode. It would take too much time to search for them one by one. This heavenly abode pearl of his contained an infinite heavenly abode. This treasure alone was probably enough for him to cultivate his spatial ability to a higher realm. Ning Fan stared at the heavenly abode pearl with a burning gaze. Infinite heavenly abode. This treasure was really mysterious. It could actually nurture an infinite heavenly abode. Although the value of this treasure wasn't as great as a small Kiliacosm Cosmos treasure, it wasn't too far off. This treasure is indeed of great use to me. Therefore, I won't reject it with empty words. After I'm done recuperating, I'll accept this pearl, but I won't accept it for free. It's impolite not to reciprocate. Ning Fan paused and took out a blank jade slip. He closed his eyes and imprinted something on it with his spirit sense. Then, he passed it to Tan Tianyan. I'll give the secret technique recorded in this jade slip to Senior as a gift. Senior, please don't reject it. Just accept it. Tan Tianyan was very curious. He really wanted to know what Ning Fan had engraved in the jade slip. Taking a look at the jade slip, Zhang Xian was astonished. This is the cultivation star cultivation technique? This cultivation technique is too precious. Little friend, please take it back. This old man cannot accept it. What Ning Fan gave to Tan Tianyan was the Cold Star secret record. How could Tan Tianyan not be shocked? Cultivation planet cultivation techniques were extremely rare, and only a few true spirit clans possessed them. Even if Tan Tianyan had the chance to become an immortal and ascend to the immortal realm, he might not have the chance to obtain the cultivation technique of the Yuan clan. A life immortal was a demonic immortal. A true immortal was a sky demon. Unless he cultivated to the sky demon realm, the Yuanqi Great Clan would most likely not give him the star cultivation technique. Ning Fan gave him such a precious cultivation method without hesitation. How could he not be touched? Thus, in a moment of agitation, he refused to accept it. Just accept it. I can't just accept the heavenly abode pearl for free. Ning Fan said. Since he had obtained the inheritance of this cultivation technique, it was just a piece of cake for him to make a copy of it and give it to Tan Tianyan. If he returns to the Rain world, he would make tens of copies of this cultivation technique and give it to those close to him to practice. Tan Tianyan was also a person whom he could befriend. Thus, it was not too much to give him a copy of this cultivation technique. Seeing that Ning Fan insisted on giving him the cultivation technique, Tan Tianyan let out a long sigh and kept the jade slip with great fondness. This cultivation star cultivation technique is really precious. I will pass this cultivation technique to Zixin. Tan Tianyan suddenly said. I originally wanted Senior to pass this cultivation technique to her. Let's end the idle talk here. Let's start healing. Tan Tianyan nodded his head after hearing Ning Fan's words. He kept the jade slip and activated his demon power to cast a demon art at the heavenly abode pearl. All of a sudden, the figures of the two of them flashed and vanished into thin air. They had entered the heavenly abode. Ning Fan and Tan Tianyan appeared on a barren land inside a high-grade heavenly abode. Outside this high-grade heavenly abode were countless other high-grade heavenly abode. There is always someone better out there. The reason why the infinite sky grottos were formed was because there was a real sky grottos within the infinite sky grottos. Through this real sky grottos, countless void grottos were formed. Unless I can find the only true heavenly abode in this infinite heavenly abode, I won't be able to leave this place easily. Ning Fan said with a solemn expression. Oh. Little friend actually saw through the method to break this treasure with a single glance. You're really amazing. Let's start healing. Ning Fan patted his storage pouch and took out the yin-yang dragon pearl, handing it over to Tan Tianyan. Tan Tianyan sat cross-legged on the ground and closed his eyes in silence. Ning Fan stood behind Tan Tianyan with the yin-yang force that he borrowed from the yin-yang locket coiled around his fingers and pressed on Tan Tianyan's Baihui acupoint. Wisps of yin and yang energy flowed into Tan Tianyan's body, and his separated demon soul gradually merged back together. A day passed. Ning Fan withdrew his finger. His face was extremely pale. With his cultivation, he was far from being able to comprehend yin and yang, yet he forcefully borrowed the power of yin and yang to cast the technique for an entire day. Naturally, the burden on him was great. Tan Tianyan exhaled a mouthful of turbid air as his turbid eyes flashed. With Ning Fan's help, his demon soul had achieved the initial stage of yin and yang integration. With the help of the yin-yang dragon pearl, his demon soul was restored to a flawless state. However, if he really wants to fully recover, he would still need to regulate his breathing for tens of years. This was not something that Ning Fan could help him with. Thank you. Tan Tianyan returned the yin-yang dragon pearl to Ning Fan. Then, he touched the heavenly dwelling pearl with his finger and both of them immediately left the heavenly dwelling space. As for the heavenly dwelling pearl, it was also given to Ning Fan after they left the heavenly dwelling space. Little friend, are you going to leave now? Before I leave, I want to buy some pills from Senior. I hope Senior won't reject me. Oh. What pills? You can just take them. Why do you need to buy them? I don't want to take advantage of the primordial palace. I need primordial clear pills. A large amount of primordial clear pills. I have 2 trillion immortal jade worth of spare money. I want to buy primordial clear pills with all of them. I wonder how many can I buy? Ning Fan asked. 2 trillion immortal jade. Tan Tianyan's eyes flashed with astonishment. He finally had a clear understanding of Ning Fan's wealth. After Ning Fan became famous, many of his deeds spread like wildfire. Tan Tianyan had once heard about the incident where Ning Fan spent 10 billion immortal jade to buy a fishing rod. At that time, he even guessed that Ning Fan probably had a lot of immortal jade. However, he didn't expect that there would be a lot of immortal jades, to such an extent, a demon palace guarded by the 5 Shatterers could only use a few trillion immortal jades. The amount of immortal jade that Ning Fan possessed was equivalent to all the immortal jade in an ordinary demon palace. Yuan Qing Dan is a low-grade 7th revolution pill. The cost of a single pill is around 10 billion. If it is sold, it would usually be sold for around 20 billion. If it was auctioned, the price would naturally be higher. If little friend insists on spending immortal jades to purchase the primary clarity pill, then you can purchase it at the cost price. 2 trillion immortal jade could buy 200 vitality clear elixirs. Currently, Hall of Yuan still had about 200 elixirs in stock. Let's sell them all to our little friend. Oh, that's right. Little friend is a high-grade 6th revolution pill master. In that case, this is the pill formula of the origin clear pill. Little friend, take it. As for the vital purging pill, you can purchase it from Zhou Nan. I will inform him to sell it to you for 10 billion. Tan Tianyan took out a scroll of pill recipe and passed it to Ning Fan. Ning Fan did not reject it and kept it in his storage pouch. The pill recipe could also be engraved. If it is sold, it would naturally be extremely expensive. If it is engraved, the cost would be close to zero. After this farewell, I wonder when I will be able to see you again. Tan Tianyan sighed with emotion. Then, he sent a message transmitting flying sword out of the heart-nurturing palace to inform Zhou Nan about the sale of the pill. I have already informed Zhou Nan. Little friend, you can go and find him. He will bring you to get the pill. Farewell. Ning Fan cupped his fists at Tan Tianyan and left. Outside the heart-nurturing palace, Tan Zixin was half lying on a green stone bench. She had actually fallen asleep due to exhaustion. There was a sweet smile on her lips. She seemed to believe that Ning Fan could cure her grandfather. Ning Fan took out a white feather blanket from his storage pouch and covered her body with it. Then, he turned around and left. After meeting Zhou Nan and purchasing the primary clarity pill, everything was settled. After returning to the Demon River Palace, Ning Fan and the little demoness decided on the date of their return. The date of their return would be tomorrow. The location of the Realm Gate would be an uninhabited sea area 100 million li away from the west of the Tianyuan continent. At night, the night breeze on the Demon River was slightly chilly. Ning Fan took one last look at the Demon River and turned around to leave. Then, he sent a message transmitting flying sword in the direction of the Origin Palace. Of course, it was meant for Tan Zixin. He just told her the location of their departure. That was all. At that time, the appearance-changing pill would completely lose its effect and Tan Zixin would see his true appearance and know his identity. In the Origin Palace, Tan Zixin sat in front of the window and stroked the white feather blanket. Her eyes were in a daze. Suddenly, she received Ning Fan's message transmitting flying sword. As soon as she read the content of the message, her eyes were filled with joy. Should I really go and see Ning Fan's true appearance and find out his true identity? At night, a golden sword light carried Ning Fan, the little demoness, Li Long and the women of the Light Feather clan away from Tianyuan City and headed west. The speed of this sword light was comparable to the speed of a peak 5th break realm cultivator. If Ning Fan uses the profound yellow crystal to increase its speed would be even higher. After traveling to the sea area 100 million li away from the continent, Ning Fan kept the ancient sword light. Old ancestor, where are we going? Hua Yu asked doubtfully. Back to the rain world. Ning Fan said with a faint smile. Huh? Back to the rain world? What does that mean? Why can't we understand? The women of the Light Feather clan were confused. Li Long was also deeply puzzled. What does he mean by returning to the rain world? Isn't Ning Fan's home in the demon world? Why does he want to return to the rain world? There's one thing I want to tell you. Actually, I'm not Bai Mu. My true identity is the new divine sovereign of the rain world. Of course, I have to return to the rain world. Are you coming with me or not? If you don't want to, you can leave on your own. As soon as Ning Fan's voice fell, the medicinal effect of the appearance-changing pill disappeared. His appearance gradually changed. He became more handsome and younger. His words stunned all the female cultivators including Hua Yu. All of them fell silent. Initially, they thought that Ning Fan was the old ancestor of the Light Feather clan. Only then would they follow him wholeheartedly. Even when Bai Mu came, they had never doubted Ning Fan's identity. Now that they found out that Ning Fan was not the old ancestor of the White Feather clan, all of their faces were filled with regret and shock. What they regretted was that Ning Fan was not the old ancestor of their clan. What shocked them the most was that Ning Fan's true identity was actually the divine sovereign of the rain world. The divine sovereign of the rain world, the weakest of the 9 worlds, actually went to the demon world and shocked the entire world. The regret and shock only lasted for a moment. One after another, the female cultivators spoke up. We are willing to follow you to the rain world. The Light Feather clan had already been annihilated. They were already homeless. So what if Ning Fan was not the old ancestor of the Light Feather clan? After following Ning Fan for a period of time, they had already gotten used to this kind of life. They were not willing to change it anymore. From today onwards, all of you will stay in the cauldron world. After all, your identity is too sensitive. If it is exposed, others will easily guess that I'm Bai Mu of the demon world. Ning Fan shook his cauldron ring and kept Hua Yu and the other women into the cauldron world. Then, his body flashed and he entered the world to introduce them to the female guards. From now on, these women of the Light Feather clan had officially joined Ning Fan's army of female guards. When Ning Fan returned to the outside world, Li Long's expression was still filled with great astonishment. Master is actually the divine sovereign of the rain world? The Ning Fan who killed the previous rain sovereign. Li Long had also heard of Ning Fan's name before, but he did not care about it. In the past, he did not put the divine sovereign of the rain world in his eyes. Only now did he know how earth-shattering the current divine sovereign of the rain world was. No matter what Master's identity is, he is still the Lord of Li Long. Since Master has returned to the rain world, Li Long naturally has to return as well. However, I have to change my appearance. Li Long shook his body and changed his sloppy appearance. He tied up his white hair and put on a set of hemp clothes, changing his appearance. Since he followed Ning Fan into the rain world, he naturally could not let others easily find out his true identity. Otherwise, it would expose the fact that Ning Fan was Bai Mu. Now that Master has changed his appearance back, it's better for you to leave the demon world as soon as possible. If you are seen by others, I'm afraid it will cause a lot of trouble. Li Long suggested. There's no hurry. I'm waiting for someone. The little demoness looked at Ning Fan meaningfully and the corners of her mouth curled into an evil smile. Husband, who are you waiting for? Is it a close female friend? Take a guess. Ning Fan looked at the little demoness helplessly. This woman is already about to leave the demon world, but she is still acting as his Dao companion. Is she really so addicted? If I guess correctly, you have to give me 1 billion immortal jades. If I guess wrongly, I'll allow you to kiss me. What do you say? The little demoness looked like she was trying to swindle Ning Fan of immortal jades. Ning Fan sighed slightly. He knew that with her intelligence, she would naturally know that he was waiting for Tan Zixin. Forget it. I'll let this demoness guess correctly this time. I might as well just lose 1 billion immortal jades to make her happy. Alright, take a guess. If you guess correctly, I'll give you 1 billion immortal jades. I guess, let me think. This is very difficult. Husband has too many lovers. I'm not sure which one it is, the little demoness purposely pretended to think and suddenly said. I know. Husband is waiting for little Azalea of the concentrated fragrance garden. Ah. Who is little Azalea? You guessed wrongly. Ning Fan shook his head speechlessly. He didn't seem to know any little Azalea at all. Oh, I guessed wrongly. Then, I'm willing to accept the punishment and let you kiss me. The little demoness smiled evilly. She did it on purpose. Li Long turned around awkwardly. He didn't dare to disturb the intimate moment between his master and his mistress. Ning Fan rubbed his forehead. This little demoness wanted to sell her moral integrity from the beginning to trick him into kissing her. How thirsty was she, Miss Xiao always teasing me like this. There seems to be a reason. It's related to my identity, right? Ning Fan recalled that the little demoness always mentioned his identity as the descendant of ancient chaos intentionally or unintentionally. Many years ago, when Ning Fan was still a harmonious spirit realm cultivator, the little demoness seemed to have mentioned that the descendant of divine void realm and the descendant of ancient chaos would have a battle above the 4 heavens, so she approached me because of my identity as the descendant of ancient chaos? Ning Fan thought. You guess. If you get it right, you have to kiss me once. If you get it wrong, you have to kiss me twice. Are you going to guess or not? The little demoness held Ning Fan's arm ambiguously and rubbed her little pigeon on his arm. Ning Fan smiled helplessly. This little demoness was really clingy. While he was deep in thought, he suddenly saw a sound-transmitting sword light coming from afar and arriving in front of him. Ning Fan crushed the sword light and a message was transmitted into his sea of consciousness. He was slightly startled and sighed. Tan Zixin didn't come. She didn't want to see Ning Fan's true appearance and identity. Thanks to you, my longing for you has turned into an illness. Since I left you, there's no medicine that can cure it. If one day, I can meet you again and I can recognize you in a sea of people, can you bring me along? Ning Fan remained silent for a while and said to the little demoness. Open the realm gate and return to the rain world. This time, the speed of the ancient golden sword had greatly increased. Naturally, the time needed to travel through the realm gate was reduced by a lot. Just 5 days later, Ning Fan returned to the rain world. He first went to the middle state and left Li Long in the rain palace to help Li Tsangtian with the miscellaneous affairs. With Li Long around, the middle state was bound to fall. After that, Ning Fan returned to Yu country. Before he reached there, the little demoness jumped off the ancient sword decisively and parted ways with Ning Fan with a smile. The period of my cultivation base's decline has ended. It will slowly return to the void fragmentation realm. I have to return to the godly void pavilion for seclusion. Husband, I won't send you off. Husband, don't forget that you have to follow me to the immortal burning valley to get the map half a year later. With a swoosh, the little demoness disappeared without a trace. It was unknown how she could run so fast when she was just a harmonious spirit realm cultivator. Ning Fan shook his head. Without the little demoness by his side, his ears instantly felt much quieter. He kept the ancient sword. With a flash of light, he stepped on the air and returned to 7 Apricot City after a dozen steps. He did not enter the city immediately. Instead, he landed in the snowstorm outside the city. His expression changed slightly. Outside the city stood a desolate one-armed man. He carried a huge black iron sword on his back and looked at the snowstorm alone. His body was covered with snow. It was unknown how long he had been standing there. His eyes were filled with joy and confusion. The joy was because when he returned to the middle state, he heard from Yun Bushu that Ning Fan had found the person he had been looking for. He was confused because he didn't know who he was stubbornly searching for. You're back. He turned around and looked at Ning Fan, who was approaching him step by step. When Ning Fan was still far away from 7 Apricot City, he had already sensed Ning Fan's arrival. Ning Fan looked at the desolate one-armed man and an inexplicable feeling rose in his heart. This person was his father, Yun Tianjue. However, he did not know how to talk to him and get along with him. He was obviously unfamiliar with him, but there was a kind of power that made Ning Fan have a good impression of Yun Tianjue. That power was familial love. I heard that you. Yun Tianjue wanted to ask the question in his heart, but he did not know how to ask it. He, who had always been decisive in killing, actually had times where he was hesitant to speak. Forget it. Accompany me to drink a cup of wine in this snowstorm. This is a spiritual wine that I found in an ancient cultivator's cave. It has been stored in the cellar for tens of thousands of years. It is a good wine. Yun Tianjue sat cross-legged on the snowy ground and pointed his finger. Immediately, a white jade wine pot and 2 wine cups appeared on the ground. Have a seat. Yun Tianjue said. He also had an inexplicable good impression of Ning Fan. He had never been close to any outsiders except for Ning Fan. Ning Fan nodded and sat opposite Yun Tianjue. Since they did not know what to say, they might as well drink with each other. This snowstorm was perfect for drinking wine. You killed rogue immortal experts. And there are quite a few of them. A total of 4 of them. Yun Tianjue's eyes suddenly flashed. He had an extremely accurate ability to distinguish baleful qi. This was the benefit brought by the inheritance of the Sword Devil. He was a little surprised that the young man who was just a divine transformation realm junior in the past had actually grown to such a level in just a few decades. The murderous Rain Sovereign, also known as the Evil Sovereign, had broken through to the Void Fragmentation realm and killed a rogue immortal. This young man's growth is really fast, yes. Ning Fan did not hide anything from his father. He drank the spiritual wine and the corners of his mouth curled into a faint smile. He liked this feeling. Even if Yun Tianjue could never remember him, it did not matter. He also had a father. It was as if he had returned to the time when he was a mortal and a teenager. It was as if all the killings along the way had become a dream. It was as if he had never changed after all these years. You're not bad. Yun Tianjue had lost his 7 emotions. Normally, he would not smile. However, at this moment, he forced a stiff smile and praised Ning Fan. Unknowingly, his face was covered with a layer of frost. Now that he had not transformed into the Sword Devil, he looked like an ordinary person. He looked at Ning Fan. Unknowingly, his heart which had always been cold showed signs of melting. He suddenly remembered the purpose of his visit this time and his eyes gradually turned serious. I'm looking for someone. Someone that I can't remember anymore. I've walked across many bridges in the water villages, seen the clouds in many cultivation cities and drunk the wine of many cultivation countries. However, I only loved one woman. However, I don't even remember who she is. I'm so sad that I have no tears to cry. I don't have the heart to feel the pain. However, I have a vague feeling that she is still waiting for me. That's why I've been looking for her. Ning Fan, do you really know where she is? If you do, please tell me. I want to find her. No matter who stops us, we must find her. Chapter 656. Yun Tianjue's eyes were filled with an unstoppable aura force. Even if he had already forgotten about that woman, he still wanted to find her in the vast crowd. No one could stop him. Ning Fan closed his eyes in disappointment. His heart felt a little sour. His father, Yun Tianjue, had his memories and emotions erased by the 7-colored elderly man. He had even forgotten about his wife and children. His mother, Ning Qian, had lost all of her demon blood and turned into a stone statue. No one knew when she would wake up again. Even if Ning Qian had turned into a stone statue, she would certainly be waiting to meet Yun Tianjue. Even though Yun Tianjue had lost his memories, he was still searching for that woman in the vast crowd. If Ning Fan did not cultivate the Tao, he would not have his current status and strength, and if he did not find his mother, perhaps the two of them would not be able to meet again in their entire lives. Fortunately, he chose to cultivate the Tao. I have found the person you are looking for. Follow me. Ning Fan raised his head and drank the last cup of spiritual wine. Then, he suddenly stood up and stroked the Yuanyao jade between his fingers. With a flash of light, he and Yun Tianjue entered the Yuanyao world. A small Kiliacosm cosmos treasure, huh? Yun Tianjue's eyes flickered. He had seen Ning Fan enter a space that was suspected to be a small Kiliacosm cosmos treasure before. Thus, he was not too surprised. What came into his sight was a medicinal garden. Among the spiritual herbs that were full of spiritual qi, there was a green stone. Beside the green stone was a green coffin. This is not the person I am looking for. Yun Tianjue only took a glance at the green coffin. He knew that it was not the person he was looking for without even seeing the appearance of the person in the coffin. This green coffin seems to be an item from the ancient heavenly court. The corpse qi in the coffin is very heavy. It seems like there is a corpse devil in it. Judging from the corpse qi, this corpse devil is a woman. Yun Tianjue continued to analyze. With just a few words, he had seen through the origin of the coffin. The person lying in the coffin is not the person you are looking for but someone who is extremely important to me. One day, I will resurrect her for real. Ning Fan's eyes looked a little lonely. Yun Tianjue frowned when he saw Ning Fan's lonely eyes. He had never liked to meddle in other people's business. However, Ning Fan's matters always seemed to make him concerned. Do you need help? Ning Fan was surprised. Then, he shook his head and said with a smile. No need. I can do it. I alone am enough. Yun Tianjue remained silent. The young man in front of him was stubborn and headstrong, and he only believed in his own strength. With this kind of personality, he must have long been used to facing the wind and waves alone, silently protecting the people behind him. For some reason, Yun Tianjue felt vexed and apologetic. It was as if the young man in front of him should not have experienced so many storms. It was as if he should have shielded the young man from the wind and rain and held up the sky. What does it have to do with me who you are? Yun Tianjue looked at Ning Fan in confusion. Who I am isn't important. What's important is that I found the person you're looking for. Do you still remember who Ning Qian is? Ning Qian. Ning Qian. Yun Tianjue's gaze gradually turned blank. Ning Fan had asked him this question once in the past. Now that he was asking it again, he actually felt a little lost and did not know how to answer it. Or should he say that he didn't know her? After all, there wasn't a single memory of Ning Qian in his mind. But why did his heart ache so much when he heard this name? That kind of pain was like 10,000 arrows piercing his heart. It was as if there was someone who was always smiling at him but he could not see her face clearly. Ning Qian. I don't know her. Yun Tianjue clenched his fists tightly and closed his eyes. It's all right. I'll bring you to see her now. Follow me. Ning Fan's body swayed and turned into a ray of light, flying towards a certain direction. Yun Tianjue's eyes turned slightly solemn. He followed Ning Fan and flew at full speed. There was a pine forest in front of them. There was a pond in the forest. Ning Fan landed outside the pine forest and walked into the forest on foot. His footsteps were very light as if he was afraid of waking someone up. Yun Tianjue also landed on the ground and followed Ning Fan into the pine forest. His heart suddenly ached. He seemed to have sensed the sorrow and longing of a woman from this pine forest. Sorrow, despair, longing, and waiting, Yun Tianjue's blood seemed to have gone out of control. His hands trembled slightly. He knew that the woman waiting in the forest was the person he was looking for. He did not need to see her face nor did he need to know everything about her. He only needed to feel her sorrow and he would feel as if his heart was being twisted by a knife. Ning Fan arrived at the quiet pond and stopped in his tracks. He looked at the blood-red demon cocoon in the pond without saying a word. Yun Tianjue approached the quiet pond step by step. His eyes were fixed on the demon cocoon and the stone statue of the winged demon inside it. His heart felt like it was broken. His eyes suddenly turned blood-red and he let out a sorrowful roar. Who caused her to become like this? Who? I've clearly said it before. I've clearly said it to everyone. Even though she is a demon, I won't allow anyone to hurt her. Yun Tianjue's sea of consciousness was in extreme pain. A trace of the memory that was erased by the seven-colored old man suddenly emerged. He could still vaguely remember the furious roar he gave to the seven-colored old man when he was trapped in the seven-colored formation. I don't care who you are. You can hurt me but you can't hurt little Qian. I won't allow it. Yun Feiyang. If you touch even a finger of hers, I will definitely break all 10 of your fingers. If you hurt even the slightest bit of her, I will definitely slaughter your entire clan. Yun Tianjue's sea of consciousness felt like it was about to shatter. The traces of memory that had just emerged gradually dissipated. In the end, he could not remember anything. He stared at Ning Fan with bloodshot eyes, waiting for Ning Fan to give him an answer. The gigantic black iron sword on his back was making clanking noises. It was as if he was going to take revenge once he knew the name of his enemy. He did not remember who the lady inside the demon cocoon was at all. The 2 words little Qian that he shouted just now were just because his memory was messed up. However, he knew that the winged demon inside the demon cocoon must be very, very important to him. Otherwise, he would not feel such heartache when he saw her in such a miserable state. His heart was bleeding. He wanted to kill her. Who caused her to end up like this? I don't know. Ning Fan vaguely knew that the person who caused his mother to end up like this was most likely that seven-colored old man. He did not want to tell Yun Tianjue about this. The seven-colored old man was an immortal emperor. If Yun Tianjue knows about his existence and remembers the past where he was harmed by him, he would certainly disregard everything and ascend to the four heavens to take revenge on him. Ning Fan did not want Yun Tianjue to take revenge for this. He did not want to shackle Yun Tianjue anymore. His father and mother had been separated for too long. It was time for them to reunite. He should not let hatred disrupt his peaceful life. One day, Ning Fan would take revenge on his own. You don't know either. Ridiculous. Ridiculous. I don't even remember who she is. I don't even know who my enemy is. Yun Tianjue raised his head and laughed heartily. His eyes were bloodshot like that of a devil. Gradually, he regained his usual cold expression and calmness and said to Ning Fan in an indifferent tone. I heard from Yun Bushu that you broke into the forbidden area of the Rain Palace that day and killed the Rain Sovereign just to bring her back. Is that true? Yes. Ning Fan nodded. Well done. If I know that she is in the forbidden area, I will also break into the forbidden area at all costs. Whoever tries to stop me will die. Yun Tianjue's tone was calm as if he was talking about something that was only natural. He carefully looked at the blood cocoon and said. She had lost all of her demon blood. She should have died. However, because she turned into a fossil, her remnant soul did not disperse. Because you built a blood pool for her and formed a blood cocoon for her, she will wake up one day in this life. As he said that, Yun Tianjue suddenly looked at Ning Fan seriously and said. I want to take her away. I want to go to a place where no one knows and wait for her to wake up. Sure. Ning Fan took out a palm-sized golden house. With a wave of his hand, the entire pine forest was sucked into the golden house. That golden house was a high-grade heavenly dwelling treasure that he had snatched from a rogue demon. Ning Fan already had the heavenly dwelling pearl which contained an infinite amount of heavenly dwellings. It was enough for him to cultivate the whirlpool spatial technique. Thus, he no longer needed this item. He passed the golden house to Yun Tianjue who received it silently. She is also very important to you. Why are you willing to give her to me? Yun Tianjue asked doubtfully. Why? Would a child stop his parents from reuniting? Ning Fan smiled and shook his head. In the end, he did not tell Yun Tianjue about his identity. If Yun Tianjue knew his identity and knew that he was his own son, he would probably stay by his side to help him deal with countless strong enemies. There is no need for this. There really is no need for this. He would just let this identity sink into the ocean and let his parents live in seclusion for the rest of their lives. Ning Fan shouldered all the hatred and enemies by himself. The guilt in Yun Tianjue's heart grew stronger. He did not know where this guilt came from. To him, Ning Fan was special. He was the only person who could make his cold heart melt a little. Yun Tianjue faintly felt that Ning Fan must have some kind of relationship with him. However, he could not remember that he had a child. He did not know that his child had no parents to protect him since he was young. He had to deal with everything since he was young and was already used to facing all difficulties alone. He did not know that his child had experienced many twists and turns along the way. He was persecuted by others and ended up in a devil's sect where he was humiliated by a female cultivator. He did not know how many dangers his child had gone through, how much hatred he had to bear and how many strong enemies he had to face. If the seven-colored elderly man had never appeared, Ning Fan would be the son of the white-robed sword god. He would be born above countless people and have cultivation conditions that others would envy. Yun Tianjue would kill all those who provoked him with a single sword strike. If he was in pain, his mother would comfort him. His fate had been changed by the seven-colored elderly man. He had embarked on a path of devil cultivation that no one knew the end of. One day, that seven-colored elderly man would regret that he had schemed against Ning Fan's fate. Ning Fan took off the blue jade on his neck and handed it to Yun Tianjue. Yun Tianjue took the blue jade and his eyes suddenly trembled. When he saw the words engraved on the jade, his heart felt like it was bleeding once again. Only when the mountains are without edges and the heavens and earth are united will I dare to go against the ruler. That was the vow they had made in the past. This jade. This jade. He should have remembered this jade. However, the intense pain in his sea of consciousness made him unable to recall anything. It's very difficult to restore your memories. Ning Fan sighed in disappointment. Now that he took a closer look, he realized that Yun Tianjue's memories had been erased by samsara. Ordinary abilities could not restore memories that were erased by samsara. Only those who were also proficient in the power of samsara could help him recover his memories. Unless Ning Fan himself also reached the immortal emperor realm and grasped the basics of samsara, he would be able to help his father recover his memories. Currently, he had no other way. It's very difficult for me to recover my memories. I've been searching for the 4 heaven-suppressing swords and tried to comprehend the sword intent of the 4 swords. Then, I entered the Thunder Sovereign's tomb and fought with the remnant soul of the Thunder Sovereign. If I win, I'll ask him to use the White Lightning memory extinguishing technique to help me recover my memories. When I returned to the middle state this time, I had already obtained all the fragments of the 4 heaven-suppressing swords. From them, I comprehended the sword intent of the 4 swords and integrated them into my sword devil sword intent. Before coming to 7 Apricot City, I went to the Endless Sea and the Zhou clan of the Internal Sea. There, I actually met the Thunder Sovereign who had just been resurrected. I had a battle with him and was defeated. However, he still performed a technique on me to help me recover my memories. Unfortunately, even his White Lightning memory extinguishing technique couldn't help me recover my memories. Then, I came to 7 Apricot City and met you. As soon as Yun Tianjue finished speaking, he kept the golden house into his sleeve and untied his storage pouch, passing it to Ning Fan. I don't know who you are, but I feel that I have the responsibility to give you some help. In order to search for the fragments of the 4 heaven-suppressing swords, I've traveled through countless ancient ruins and found many things. Some of them will be very beneficial to you. As for the Xian Wei blood gourd, I'll also give it to you. Now that you're already the divine sovereign of the rain world, you should avoid many dangers if you can. If you're in trouble, come and find me. With your heaven-peering rain technique, you'll definitely be able to find me easily in the rain world. The 2 of them left the Yuanya world. In the wind and snow, Yun Tianjue looked at Ning Fan for a long time. Then, he turned around and disappeared into the wind and snow with the golden house. Ning Fan stared at Yun Tianjue's back for a long time, standing alone in the wind and snow. His mother had waited for 1,000 years just to meet her husband. Now that the 2 of them had met, it should be considered as fulfilling her long-cherished wish. That was enough. One day, his mother would wake up and his father would recover his memories. When that time comes, Ning Fan returned to Si Fan Palace and met his women one by one. At night, he returned to his room and took out the storage pouch that his father had given him. Then, he took a closer look at it. Even with Ning Fan's experience, his eyes could not help but widen in surprise. In Yun Tianjue's storage pouch, other than the fragments of the 4 heaven-suppressing swords, there were also countless famous ancient swords and flying swords of ancient cultivators. Moreover, there were even more than 10 immortal swords. If Ning Fan devours these broken swords, his sword consciousness would certainly become more stable and the power of his sword sense would also become stronger. He had never thought of comprehending the sword intent of the 4 heaven-suppressing swords. To him, the sword intent of Emperor Xia's sword was a level higher than the sword ancestors. Other than the broken swords, there were also hundreds of sword cultivation methods and sword techniques in the storage pouch, including the sword devil scripture that Yun Tianjue cultivated. Ning Fan did not plan to cultivate the sword devil scripture. However, the 3 sword styles recorded in the scripture caught his attention. The first style of the sword devil, Myriad Sword Style, was a low-grade Immortal Void Realm sword technique. The second style of the sword devil, Devil Sword style, was a mid-grade immortal void realm sword technique. By burning one's own blood, one could emit a powerful devil sword light. The third style of the sword devil, weapon disintegration style, was an immortal technique. By destroying one's physical body and severely injuring one's primordial spirit, one could kill a rogue immortal with a single slash. After reading the three styles, Ning Fan's eyes were slightly shocked. The three sword techniques recorded in the Sword Demon scripture left him in awe. Especially the last style, weapon disintegration style. Yun Tianjue seemed to have already mastered the three styles of the sword technique. If he pays the price of destroying his physical body and damaging his primordial spirit, he could even kill a rogue immortal with a single slash. If he uses the weapon disintegration style again when his physical body is already destroyed, he would disintegrate his primordial spirit and kill another rogue immortal at the cost of his own life. This was a sword technique that risked one's life. It should not be used unless it is a life and death situation. He suddenly felt lucky that he did not tell Yun Tianjue about the seven-colored elderly man. If Yun Tianjue knew where his enemy was, he would certainly disregard everything to take revenge. He would disintegrate his physical body, severely damage his primordial spirit and even disintegrate his primordial spirit in the end. Even though Yun Tianjue's cultivation base was at the fourth heavenly layer of the void fragmentation realm, he had the strength to kill two rogue immortals in a row. That kind of strength must be exchanged with his life. The devil sword style is fine. However, I can learn this weapon disintegration style. It will be enough to save my life in a critical situation. As soon as he finished speaking, he kept the sword devil scripture and continued to search through his storage pouch. There were still 300 billion immortal jade, 50,000 Dao crystals and some pills. Ning Fan kept all of these items but he did not pay too much attention to them. What he paid the most attention to was a blood-red scroll. The scroll carried a faint floral fragrance. The baleful qi on it was so strong that even Ning Fan was a little surprised. He opened the scroll. There was a map drawn on it. In the boundless void space of the Rain World, there were a total of 3 paths that led to a place called the Blood Slave Garden. Blood Slave Garden. I seem to have heard of it somewhere. Ning Fan closed his eyes and recalled for a while. Then, he gradually remembered. That's right. I once caught a red-haired human cauldron. That human cauldron came from a small kiliacosm that was filled with blood burial grass. The name of that broken world seems to be the Blood Slave Garden. Could it be that the 3 paths recorded on this map lead to the hometown of the red-haired human cauldron? I remember that there are a large number of flower devil cauldrons in the Blood Slave Garden. Moreover, the previous owner of the Blood Slave Garden seems to be an elder of the Slaughter Palace. Her name is Xue Linglong. Ning Fan looked at the map in his hand and remained silent for a while. Then, he kept the map. If he has the time, he could go to the Blood Slave Garden to have a look and use the human cauldrons there to improve his cultivation base. Now was not the right time to go there. I'll think about it when I have the chance. Ning Fan rested for a few days in 7 Apricot City and spent some time with his ladies. During these few days, he guided each of them in their cultivation. With his current cultivation base, it was naturally not difficult for him to guide them. As for some pills and cultivation methods that were useful for their cultivation, he left them all in 7 Apricot City. For the remaining time, he went into the profound Yin world to cultivate. Luo Yu's primordial spirit had already recovered to the 4th heavenly layer of the void fragmentation realm. When she saw Ning Fan entering the profound Yin world and taking out Bai Mu's corpse, her eyes could not help but widen in surprise. This is the Green Yang physique. Did you enter the profound Yin world this time to devour the second Yang? Luo Yu knew that Ning Fan was sealed by the sect master of the 3 worlds. That purple sun power could not be devoured. Moreover, the seal was rather tricky to break. Therefore, Ning Fan could not devour the purple sun power for the time being to replenish the steel spirit of the steel of sun and moon. Now that Ning Fan had found the Green Yang physique, she was naturally very surprised. Both the 7 Yang physique and the 7 Yin physique were rare physiques. Ning Fan went to the tree world and found the red yang physique and the purple yang physique. After that, he went to the demon world and found the green yang physique. Isn't my luck a little too good? Ning Fan smiled without saying a word. He patted his storage pouch and took out a jade box, passing it to Luoyu. Take this pill. It should be enough for you to recover your 5th heavenly layer destruction realm cultivation base. Pill? What kind of pill is this? Luoyu did not know that Ning Fan had obtained an 8th revolution pill from killing 4 rogue demons in the demon world, the demon divine pill. It could help her recover her primordial spirit. At that time, she was still absorbing the medicinal power of the heavenly ingredients and earthly treasures. Thus, she naturally did not know about Ning Fan's shocking battle achievements. She slowly opened the jade box. When she saw the pill inside, her beautiful eyes widened in surprise. A low grade 8 revolution pill. Where did you get it from? Your baleful chi seems to have increased again. You killed 4 rogue immortal experts. You're in danger. Luoyu's subconscious question was not about how Ning Fan killed the 4 rogue immortal experts but whether he was in danger again. 4 rogue immortals. Could it be that he was besieged by 4 rogue immortals when I was in seclusion foolishly? She was supposed to help him at all times. However, when he was facing such a huge crisis, she actually did not know about it. It's already over. You should quickly absorb the pill and recover your primordial spirit. After you consume this demon divine pill, your cultivation base should be able to recover to the 5th heavenly layer destruction realm. I will try to find some heavenly ingredients and earthly treasures of a higher grade to help you recover your cultivation base to the peak of the 9th heavenly layer destruction realm as soon as possible. As for your physical body, I will also look for it seriously. Ning Fan smiled, telling her not to worry. Everything was already over. He flew towards the steel of sun and moon in a ray of traveling light and sat in meditation. Then, he pointed a finger at Bai Mu's corpse and slowly extracted the green yang power from it. Luo Yu looked at Ning Fan with a complicated expression. She sighed and returned to the thatched cottage. Looking at the pill in the jade box, Luo Yu was actually reluctant to consume it. As her primordial spirit was recovering bit by bit, the day of her departure was getting closer. After she is truly resurrected, she certainly would not stay by Ning Fan's side. She must avenge her dead clansmen. Her enemy was too strong. She must not give Ning Fan any more trouble. Ning Fan, she murmured Ning Fan's name and let out a faint sigh. We have to part ways eventually. She consumed the Fey Divine Pill and slowly refined the pill's power. 1 day passed. 2 days. 3 days. After 7 days, Ning Fan finally extracted all the green yang power from Bai Mu's corpse. The green yang power was too stubborn. It was not an easy task to extract it. After extracting all the green yang power, Ning Fan inserted the green yang power into the second sun-shaped groove of the steel of sun and moon. As for Bai Mu's corpse, he casually flicked his finger and burned it into ashes. After the steel of sun and moon slowly absorbed the green yang power, the second sun-shaped groove gradually turned green. At the moment it absorbed all the green yang power, the power of the steel of sun and moon suddenly skyrocketed. Ning Fan stood up and stretched out his hand to touch the steel. Now that the steel of sun and moon had absorbed the second yang spirit, its destructive power was comparable to a strike from a 5th heavenly layer void fragmentation realm cultivator. With this steel in hand, Ning Fan could even put up a fight against a 4th heavenly layer void fragmentation realm expert. After absorbing the second yang spirit, the entire profound Yin world changed again. A barren continent began to appear beneath Ning Fan's feet. The thatched hut that was originally floating in the sky also landed on the continent. In the sky, the sun and the moon began to alternate. There was day and night. This empty profound Yin world finally had some liveliness. If Ning Fan continues to collect other Yin spirits and Yang spirits, the profound Yin world would become a medium-sized world with birds chirping and flowers fragrant one day. There's still half a year before the trip to the immortal Burning Valley. I'll use this time to improve my cultivation base. 10 crystals of the ancient divine incense, 3. 27 million Tao crystals, 200 essence clear pills and the dragon's soul and dragon pearl. Half a year's time is not enough for me to refine all the opportunities in one go. I have to make some trade-offs. Even if Ning Fan had the cultivation speed of the profound Yin world that was 100 times faster than normal, he would not be able to refine so many opportunities. He set his goal lower. For this half a year's worth of cultivation, his goal was to reach the second heavenly layer of the void fragmentation realm. Refine. Ning Fan took out the Tao crystals that were piled up like a mountain and began to refine them one by one. The further he cultivated, the less magic power the Tao crystals would provide. As for the dragon pearl and the ancient divine incense, their medicinal effects would not decrease. Thus, he naturally refined the Tao crystals first. His goal was to break through to the second heavenly layer of the void fragmentation realm within half a year. Chapter 657. The upper limit of the first demolishing level was 50,000 periods of time. 200,000 periods of time. 300,000. 400,000. 500 million. From the fifth break realm onwards, the amount of magic power a void fragmentation realm cultivator would need to break through to the next realm would increase exponentially. The upper limit of the sixth demolishing stage was 3 million yuan hui. 7 to 5 million yuan hui, 8 to 8 million yuan hui, and finally 90 million yuan hui. When one's magic power reaches 10 million yuan hui, a cultivator can comprehend life and death and break through the bottleneck of the life immortal realm. Currently, Ning Fan's magic power was 78,000 yuan hui. He was a one-apertured ancient god, so the effect of devouring doctrine gems was twice that of ordinary people. Every time he refined 5 doctrine gems, he could increase his magic power by 1 yuan hui. The devouring lasted for more than 2 months. Ning Fan had devoured 100,000 Tao crystals and his magic power had increased by 20,000 periods. He was already close to breaking through to the second break realm. Refining the Tao crystal took far more time than he had imagined. When a void fragmentation realm cultivator refined the Tao crystal, the higher their magic power was, the faster they would be able to absorb the power of the Tao crystal. Since Ning Fan's cultivation base was only at the first heavenly layer of the void fragmentation realm, his refining speed was naturally not fast. If not for the fact that he was in the profound Yin world, it would have taken him around 20 years to refine 100,000 Tao crystals. He could stay in the profound Yin world for a maximum of 3 months at a time. Now that the time limit was up, he had no choice but to temporarily leave the profound Yin world and stay in the outside world for a few days before re-entering the world. Another 3 months passed. This time, Ning Fan had refined a total of 170,000 Tao crystals. With the increase in magic power and the extension of time, the number of Tao crystals refined would naturally increase as well. When the magic power reached 100,000 yuan, the effect of the Tao crystal would be halved. It would require 10 Tao crystals to increase his magic power by 1 yuan. In the end, Ning Fan's magic power reached 116,000 yuan hui. At this point, his magic power was strong enough to break through the bottleneck of the second fragmentation realm. With a sway of his body, Ning Fan left the profound Yin world. He left Yu country and headed south. He was still going to the South Sea to undergo his tribulation and achieve a breakthrough. He still chose a desolate island to undergo his tribulation. However, this time, he did not set up layers of grand formations. The heavenly Tao no longer sent down more severe tribulations. Ning Fan was not afraid of the ordinary second shattering heavenly tribulation. He opened up a temporary abode on the deserted island and took out a space-breaking pill from his storage pouch. The void-breaking pill was one of his spoils of war. There were a total of 12 of them. All of them were low-grade 7th revolution pills which could increase a void fragmentation realm cultivator's success rate by 5%. In order to break through to the second stage, one could only consume 1 pill. In order to break through to the third stage, one had to consume 2 pills to increase the chances of breaking through by 5%. To break through from the third to the fourth, one would need to consume 4 pills. The number of void-piercing pills required doubled with every increase in realm. Ning Fan only took one void-breaking dan, but it was enough. As he absorbed the medicinal power of the space-piercing pill, he tried to break through the bottleneck of the second fragmentation stage. Even with Ning Fan's luck, he only managed to break through the bottleneck after 3 attempts. At the moment Ning Fan broke through the bottleneck, his magic power increased by 10,000 yuan and he successfully advanced to the second heavenly layer of the void fragmentation realm. At the same time that he had broken through to the next stage, his spiritual will had also been greatly enhanced, almost reaching the pinnacle of the second fragmented spiritual will. All of a sudden, Ning Fan rose to his feet. He stomped on the ground, and the entire island rumbled. It shattered into countless pieces and sank to the bottom of the sea. He stood on the surface of the South Sea and looked up into the sky. In the sky, a huge black and white ring appeared, and countless tribulation clouds began to gather. There were billions of golden lightning brewing in the tribulation clouds. Sovereign thunder tribulation. Golden light flashed in Ning Fan's eyes. The flying dragon of sovereign qi immediately coiled around his body. At the next moment, billions of sovereign lightning bolts struck down from above. The entire sea turned into a golden color. Without saying a word, Ning Fan lifted his foot and stomped on the ground. Immediately, a massive Tai Su lightning diagram appeared beneath his feet, defending against the sovereign lightning bolts that filled the sky. With the Tai Su lightning diagram's protection, not a single sovereign lightning bolt could hit Ning Fan. Ning Fan lifted his hand and pointed at the sky. The Wenzhong Long flying dragon of sovereign qi immediately soared into the sky and devoured the sovereign lightning bolts crazily. As Ning Fan performed hand seals, the flying dragon swallowed the sovereign lightning bolts into its stomach. 2 hours later, all the sovereign lightning bolts that filled the sky were devoured by the flying dragon. The flying dragon, which was initially 1 zhang long, had now grown to 2 zhang long. Ning Fan still only had 1 trace of sovereign qi. However, this trace of sovereign qi was already equivalent to 20 traces of sovereign qi of an ordinary person. The sovereign qi in his body was equivalent to the sum of 20 rain sovereigns. TSK. The sovereign lightning tribulation was easily broken by him again. The Yin wind tribulation is certainly not a problem for him. In a certain space that was extremely far away, a little lowly in snow-white robes pouted helplessly. She was still holding a grudge against Ning Fan for eating her 8 treasures cake. She really wanted to increase the intensity of the heavenly tribulation and make Ning Fan suffer. However, the imperial monarch no longer allowed her to do so, another tribulation for the stinky Ning Fan. How troublesome. Speaking of which, it hasn't been long since he broke through to the first level of fragmentation realm. How did he break through to the second level of fragmentation realm again? What a terrifying cultivation speed. Due to some reasons, the little lowly could only display the strength of the second heavenly layer of the void fragmentation realm at most. Before Ning Fan broke through to the void fragmentation realm, she was already not his match. Now that Ning Fan was at the same cultivation realm as her, she was naturally not his match. Thus, she did not dare to show herself and find trouble with him. Yin wind tribulation, oh Yin wind tribulation. You mustn't let stinky Ning Fan break it so easily. The little Lolita puffed up her cheeks and prayed. Unfortunately, things didn't go as he wished. Facing the Yin wind tribulation with the power of the 2 shattering Yin wind tribulation, Ning Fan took out the wind steadying flag without hesitation and broke the 2 shattering Yin wind tribulation. This wind steadying flag could be used for at least 3 heavenly tribulations. The chilly wind that filled the entire sky gradually disappeared. Ning Fan had survived both the sovereign lightning tribulation and the Yin wind tribulation. The little lowly stood on the surface of the lake and stared at Ning Fan's reflection on the surface of the lake. Her cheeks puffed up in anger. I'm so angry. He succeeded in passing the tribulation again. I'm going to trample you to death. I'm going to trample you to death. Her tiny feet kept stepping on the surface of the lake, creating circles of ripples on the surface of the lake. All of a sudden, she used too much force and the snow-white shoes on her feet flew away from her feet. It flew out, it went out, it went out, it went. The little loli realized that she had done another stupid thing. She sat on the surface of the lake, petrified. My embroidered shoes fell down again. This is the shoes that the imperial monarch personally embroidered for me. I don't want to live anymore. I don't want to live anymore. Wah! She felt wronged and tears kept falling down her cheeks. Those were her favorite embroidered shoes. The imperial monarch said that these shoes were given to her as a dowry for her to wear when she gets married in the future. Unexpectedly, she accidentally fell down to the lower realm again. Ning Fan got lucky. For a moment, the little loli began to curse Ning Fan in a low voice. Stinky Ning Fan, rotten Ning Fan, stinky Ning Fan, rotten Ning Fan. Ning Fan broke the sovereign lightning tribulation and the Een wind tribulation one after another. He could be considered to have completely passed the second heavenly tribulation. The second heavenly tribulation was different from the first heavenly tribulation. There were only 2 tribulations. There was no third tribulation. Naturally, there was no reward from the heavenly Tao. After breaking through to the next realm, Ning Fan prepared to return to 7 Apricot City to stabilize his cultivation base. All of a sudden, a ray of light flashed in the sky. A concealed weapon fell from the sky. Ning Fan raised his hand and sucked the concealed weapon into his palm. His expression immediately turned strange. Air. Isn't this a woman's embroidered shoes? It was a snow-white embroidered shoe with extremely exquisite workmanship. There was a hint of flower fragrance coming from it. It was the fragrance of a 200,000 years old immortal iris. The owner of the shoes actually used 200,000 years old spiritual herbs to make a fragrance and smeared it on her body. Even the embroidered shoes had a trace of fragrance. What an extravagant little girl. She actually used such precious spiritual herbs to make her face powder. Speaking of which, why did that little girl give me the embroidered shoes? Could it be that it's another way to express her goodwill? Ning Fan's expression turned slightly awkward. After thinking for a while, he still kept the embroidered shoes into his storage pouch. Since it was the little girl's goodwill, if he didn't accept it, wouldn't he be letting down her good intentions? The little girl was dumbfounded. She was extremely angry. Who would give their dowry to you? You are nobody to me. Why would I give you the embroidered shoes? I'm so angry. I'm so angry. You ate my 8 treasures cake and stole my embroidered shoes. You're shameless. You're shameless. Woo 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 woo. The little girl kept crying as if she had suffered a great grievance. She cried for 3 days straight before she calmed down. All of these had nothing to do with Ning Fan anymore. He returned to Yu Country and 7 Apricot City. He went to the Godly Void Pavilion once to ask the little demoness when they would be going to the immortal Burning Valley. Half a year had passed. It seemed like they would be going to the immortal Burning Valley soon. Hee, husband should first stabilize your cultivation base. There's no hurry to go to the immortal Burning Valley. Something happened to Hidaozi. We will depart after a month. The little demoness giggled. After getting her answer, Ning Fan returned to Si Fan Palace and entered the profound Een world to stabilize his cultivation base. After his cultivation base was stabilized, he took out the sword Devil Scripture and the Heavenly Abode Pearl to study them carefully. Since there was still a month left, he could learn the army disintegration style and increase the power of the spatial vortex technique. The sword style of the army disintegration style was very complicated. However, there were many shadows of the myriad sword style in it. Thus, Ning Fan's comprehension was not slow. He absorbed the power of numerous broken swords and immortal swords to strengthen his sea of consciousness. At the same time, he practiced the army disintegration style. In just 10 days, he had grasped the basic sword style of the army disintegration style. The sword style was not difficult to grasp, but the price to use this sword technique was too great. If Ning Fan paid the price of disintegration of his physical body and severely injuring his primordial spirit, he could use the first sword style to kill a rogue immortal. If Ning Fan paid the price of his life, he could continue to use the second sword style to kill another rogue immortal. This was a life-risking technique. Ning Fan would not use it unless he was in a life-or-death situation. After devouring countless broken swords fragments, Ning Fan's sword intent improved by a lot. His sea of consciousness had also been strengthened. His spirit sense had also broken through to the third heavenly layer of the void fragmentation realm. This was an unexpected surprise. Ning Fan then took out 200 essence clear pills and consumed them one by one. After his spirit sense broke through to the third level, the medicinal effect of the essence clear pills was reduced to a quarter of its original effect. After consuming the 200 essence clear pills, Ning Fan's spirit sense improved tremendously, almost reaching the level of unrivaled in the third level of the void fragmentation realm. At the same time, Nia Li, who was in the cauldron world, also successfully broke through to the sixth level of the void fragmentation realm. This was also a pleasant surprise. Next, it was time for him to absorb the power of the heavenly abode inside the heavenly abode pearl. Ning Fan exited the profound Yin world and entered the infinite heavenly abode space of the heavenly abode pearl. This place had an infinite number of high-grade heavenly abode spaces. Ning Fan could casually destroy a heavenly abode and draw out the power of the high-grade heavenly abode. It would not affect this treasure at all. Every time he destroyed a high-grade heavenly abode, one of the silver continents inside Ning Fan's natal heavenly abode would turn golden. Gradually, all of the 72 silver continents had turned golden. The entire natal heavenly abode had turned into a pure golden space. Ning Fan reached out his palm. With a thought in his mind, circles of golden vortexes appeared on his palm. His whirlpool technique had finally reached the grand completion stage and reached the golden vortex realm. Golden vortex. The level of the sect master of the three realms whirlpool technique seems to be only at the golden vortex realm. The grand completion stage of the whirlpool technique is the void vortex realm. I wonder if I can continue absorbing the power of the heavenly abode in the heavenly abode to improve the level of my whirlpool technique. Ning Fan continued to draw out the power of the high-grade heavenly abode and devour it. Unfortunately, after his whirlpool technique broke through to the golden vortex realm, absorbing the power of the high-grade heavenly abode was no longer effective. However, this heavenly abode was not completely useless. Ning Fan sat cross-legged in a certain high-grade heavenly abode inside the heavenly abode, sensing the changes of the heavenly abode. The so-called limitless heavenly abode was a real heavenly abode that evolved into countless void heavenly abode. It seems like I can also use the whirlpool technique in this way. With a thought in his mind, Ning Fan moved and went into the real heavenly abode inside the heavenly abode. He extracted the power of the heavenly abode and devoured it. At the moment when the real heavenly abode collapsed, countless void heavenly abode collapsed at the same time. Ning Fan was forced to teleport out of the space of the heavenly abode. When he looked at the heavenly abode again, it had already been split into two halves. This treasure was already destroyed. Even though the heavenly abode was destroyed, Ning Fan showed a satisfied expression. Now, there was another way to use the whirlpool technique. After returning to the profound Yin world, Ning Fan finally took out the blood umbrella. His eyes were a little hesitant, but soon, they became resolute. The current destructive power of Ning Fan's whirlpool technique was enough to kill 3 cultivators with a wave of his hand. If he wants to continue improving the destructive power of the whirlpool technique, he would probably have to devour the small Kiliacosm Cosmos treasure. Refine. Ning Fan raised the blood umbrella in midair and it immediately turned into a ray of blood light. He opened his mouth and swallowed the blood light into his stomach. 3 days later, Ning Fan extracted the small Kiliacosm world power from the blood umbrella and fused it into his natal heavenly abode. At the moment when the small Kiliacosm world power was fused into his natal heavenly abode, one of the 72 golden continents in his natal heavenly abode suddenly turned half illusory and half real. Ning Fan reached out his hand and a golden whirlpool appeared in his palm. That golden whirlpool also began to change. As expected, in order to cultivate the whirlpool technique to the void vortex realm, I need to devour the small Kiliacosm Cosmos treasures, huh? Besides, it seems like I still need to devour 71 small kiliocosm cosmos treasures before I can cultivate the whirlpool technique to the highest level. Where am I supposed to get 71 small kiliocosm cosmos treasures? This technique is really difficult to cultivate. Ning Fan shook his head with a sigh. No wonder only the founder of the Three Worlds sect had cultivated the Void Vortex realm and no one else could attain the Void Vortex realm. In order to attain the Void Vortex realm, one would need to devour 72 small kiliocosm cosmos treasures. To the cultivators of the lower worlds, this was basically an impossible task. Even Ning Fan only had 2 small kiliocosm cosmos treasures left after devouring the Blood Umbrella, the Cauldron Ring and the Yuanyao Jade. These 2 small kiliocosm cosmos treasures naturally could not be devoured. The profound Yin world that came with the Yin-Yang locket could not be devoured either. In that case, he could only devour the other small kiliocosm cosmos treasures in the future. Even though I have only devoured 1 small kiliocosm cosmos treasure, the power of the whirlpool technique is slightly stronger than that of the sect master of the Three Worlds. With my current cultivation base of the whirlpool technique, I can directly keep a 5th break realm cultivator into my natal heavenly abode, seal, and kill him. My natal heavenly abode has absorbed the power of the heavenly abode pearl. If a 5th break realm cultivator is sealed in it, he or she will definitely die. Unfortunately, my cultivation base is still low. I can only seal 1 5th break realm cultivator at most. While Ning Fan was pondering, the sound transmission jade token in his storage pouch suddenly rang. He took out the jade token and Su Qiuling's solemn voice came from it. Big brother, 5 void fragmentation realm experts of the mountain world have invaded the rain world and arrived at 7 Apricot City. Come quickly. They are threatening to find you to demand an explanation for the previous rain sovereign. Ning Fan's eyes immediately turned cold. He did not expect that after Yun Zongshuan's death, there would still be old monsters from other worlds coming to seek an explanation for him. However, he did not know the cultivation base of these people and whether they were really here to demand an explanation. Since these 5 people came from the mountain world, it was impossible for them to be rogue immortal old monsters. The mountain world was one of the 3 middle worlds among the 9 worlds. The strongest expert there was only at the 7th break realm. Ning Fan was not afraid even if they were 7th break realm old monsters from the mountain world. At this moment, Ming Ke, Mei Chen and Ting Xianro were standing in the air. As for Su Qiuling, she took out 5 heavenly tribulation puppets and ordered them to guard the sky. Mu Luo's clone who was dressed in black robes stood at the front of the group, staring coldly at the people from the mountain world. There were a total of 5 old monsters from the mountain world. 3 of them were at the 5th break realm, 1 was at the 4th break realm and the last one was at the 3rd break realm. All of them were Yun Zongshuan's good friends. Saying that they were good friends was just a nicer way to put it. These people just often had business dealings with Yun Zongshuan. Yun Zongshuan was dead. The new divine sovereigns of the rain world were actually Ning Fan and Li Tsangtian who were at the 1st break realm and 3rd break realm. Seeing that the rain world was easy to bully, they naturally came to seek some benefits. Where is the divine sovereign of the rain world, Ning Fan? Ask him to come out and talk to me. A 5th break realm old monster wore an extremely arrogant expression as he stared coldly at 7 Apricot City. There were many void fragmentation realm experts in 7 Apricot City. Unfortunately, there was only 1 5th break realm expert among them. He was obviously here to seek benefits from the rain world. If Ning Fan did not know what was good for him and did not give him enough benefits, he would teach Ning Fan a lesson and let him know how powerful he was. Chapter 658. When the 5 void fragmentation realm experts from the mountain realm arrived in Yu country, the entire 7 Apricot City was immersed in a somber atmosphere. As for Yu Lingkong, Su Yan and the other women, their cultivation bases were not at the void fragmentation realm. They were not strong enough to fight against the strong enemies of the mountain world. Under such circumstances, only void fragmentation realm experts were qualified to stand in the sky. Mu Luo was a 5th demolisher, Mei Chen was a 3rd demolisher, and Bright Sparrow, Ting Xianro, and the 5 tribulation beasts were all 1st demolishers. There were a total of 9 void fragmentation realm cultivators guarding 7 apricot city. There were only 5 enemy cultivators. It seemed like 7 apricot city had the advantage in numbers. However, among the 5 enemy cultivators from the mountain world, 3 of them were at the 5th heavenly layer of the void fragmentation realm. One of them was at the 4th heavenly layer while the other was at the 3rd heavenly layer. In terms of cultivation base, they were a notch higher than 7th plum void fragmentation realm. The leader of the void fragmentation realm cultivators of the mountain world was a fat old man. He wore a yellow robe and his strength was above the 5 shattering realm. His name was Zhao Banji and he was a rogue cultivator. This person was the one who had clamored for Ning Fan to come out and meet him. As the saying goes, those who are good at defending hide under the 9 earths, those who are good at attacking move above the 9 heavens. Most of the cultivators of the mountain realm were good at defense and not good at offense. Zhao Banji was an expert in defensive techniques. It was said that he once broke through the attacks of 6 cultivators without suffering any damage. This Zhao Banji had even cultivated a strand of sovereign qi. Although he was not a mountain sovereign, he was still a famous figure in the mountain realm, and was even valued by a 7-shattering old monster. Zhao Banji soon narrowed his eyes and glanced at Mu Luo, Mei Chen, Ming Ke, Ting Xianro, and the 5 puppets of the heavenly tribulation. He was rather surprised. He knew that there were very few void fragmentation realm experts in the Rain world. During the period when Yun Zhongshuan ruled the Rain world, there were no void fragmentation realm experts in the Rain world. Moreover, there were even heavenly tribulation puppets in 7 apricot city, Zhao Banji guessed inwardly. Could it be that this heavenly tribulation puppet was captured by the new Rain sovereign, Ning Fan? What an arrogant brat! Isn't he afraid of offending the lower realm's heavenly way by capturing the heavenly tribulation puppet? Even though he was surprised that 7 apricot city had so many void fragmentation experts, he did not pay too much attention to them. Other than Mu Luo, who was a 5th demolisher, no one else in the area was worthy of his attention. After all, the Rain world was the weakest of the 9 worlds. It was not worth mentioning. There were 2 different versions of the cause of Yun Zhongshuan's death. One of them stated that Yun Zhongshuan had died of an accident. The other version said that the evil cloud Rain sovereign, Ning Fan, had killed Yun Zhongshuan and seized the throne. Zhao Banji did not believe that Ning Fan, who was just at the 1st level of destruction realm, could kill Yun Zhongshuan. He was more willing to believe that Yun Zhongshuan had died in an accident. In his mind, Zhao Banji did not put Ning Fan, who had just lost a portion of his cultivation base, in his eyes. Where's the sinful cloud Rain sovereign? Quickly ask him to come out and speak with this old man. Zhao Banji said impatiently in a cold voice. There was a pressure in his voice that was as heavy as a mountain. The cultivators of 7 apricot city below the void fragmentation realm were simply unable to withstand it. Each and every one of them had their qi in chaos. The 4 old monsters behind Zhao Banji also had impatient looks on their faces. Among these 4 people, 2 of them were 5 shatter cultivators. One of them wore a black robe and held a magic treasure. He was the patriarch of the Taiyuan Valley in the mountain realm. The other wore a red robe and rode on a great virtual realm water-repelling beast. He held a chipped jade bowl magic treasure. He was the patriarch of the Great Mountain sect in the mountain realm. Among the remaining 2 old monsters, the one with the 3rd and the one with the 4th was the sect master of the mountain realm's Red Sand sect, while the one with the 4th was the sect master of the mountain realm's Sumra sect. As cultivators of the Zhongshan realm, they were born with a sense of pride when facing the weakest cultivators of the Rain realm. Now that the mountain world was at war with the earth immortal world, if not for the fact that they wanted to reap some benefits from the Rain world, the 5 of them would not have bothered to go to the weakest of the 9 worlds, the Rain world. Humph. Fellow Taoist, you sure talk big. As a cultivator of the mountain world, it's one thing for you to openly invade the Rain world, but you're also asking the Rain sovereign to come and see you. Could it be that you think that the Rain world is weak and easy to bully? Mu Luo's eyes turned cold. If it wasn't for the fact that his body couldn't leave the Dark Sparrow's grave, with his cultivation base, he wouldn't be afraid of a few kids from the mountain realm. At this moment, he could only leave the Dark Sparrow's grave with his 5th Shatterer cultivation base clone. If he were to fight the 3 5th Shatterer old monsters alone, his chances of winning were slim. I don't know if the Rain World is weak and easy to bully. However, the previous Rain Sovereign, Yun Zhongshuan, was a good friend of mine. I heard rumors that fellow Taoist Yun died at the hands of the sinful Cloud Rain Sovereign. We've come to the Rain World to demand an explanation for fellow Taoist Yun. I've tried my best, but the sinful Cloud Rain Sovereign refuses to come and see me. Since that's the case, I won't show any mercy. Taiyuan forefather, why don't you spar with this fellow Taoist? Zhao Banji smiled disdainfully at Mu Luo, then turned to Taiyuan. All right. Since the sinful Cloud Rain Sovereign refuses to show himself, there's no need for us to wait any longer. Fellow Taoist, please enlighten us. Taiyuan forefather strode across the sky toward Mu Luo. Zhao Banji and the others retreated 30,000 feet away from the battlefield to allow Taiyuan and Mu Luo to fight. The coldness in Mu Luo's eyes intensified. He said to Mei Chen and Bright Sparrow behind him, I'll handle the 5 Shatterer battle. There's no need for you to take the risk. Retreat 30,000 feet away. Mei Chen, Bright Sparrow, and Ting Xianrou looked at each other. Despite their resentment toward the Mountain Realm cultivators, they had no choice but to retreat 30,000 feet with the 5 Shatterer cultivators. Given their cultivation, they wouldn't be able to harm a 5 Shatterer cultivator unless they fought to the death. How should I address you, fellow Taoist? Taiyuan smiled sinisterly. Mu Luo. Mu Luo snapped back. So it's Taoist Mu Luo. Ha! Mu Luo, falling cloud. 2 beams of yellow light flashed in Taiyuan's eyes. The moment they appeared, the terrain within a radius of several million kilometers shifted. Mu Luo's figure swayed as the terrain shifted, almost falling off the cloud. This was the falling cloud art, a secret art unique to Taiyuan Valley in the Mountain Realm. It could only be used with the help of the terrain. Mu Luo's eyes flashed. He abruptly stomped on the sky, shattering the momentum and stabilizing his figure. Oh! Taoist Mu Luo managed to block my secret art and didn't fall off the cloud? Taiyuan was a little taken aback. It's just a petty trick. What else do you have? Bring it on. Mu Luo said coldly. Petty trick. Then I'll show you what I'm capable of. Seal of mountains and rivers, smash. Taiyuan raised the seal in his hand. It soared into the sky with the sound of mountains collapsing and rivers collapsing. However, a yellow light flashed from the treasure seal, and in an instant, it transformed into millions of huge mountains that smashed down on Mu Luo. Without Mu Luo's help, the mountains would have flattened the land within a radius of several million kilometers. Mu Luo's eyes narrowed. Without a word, he made a hand seal. Up in the sky, the void suddenly shattered into pieces. Countless demonic black vines sprouted from the dark sky. The vines twisted together to form a giant black palm 30,000 meters long. The giant fists punched at the millions of mountains in the sky, shattering them into rubble and scattering them across the sky. The seal of mountains and rivers retreated after the mountains were destroyed. Several cracks appeared on its surface as it flew back into Taiyuan's hand. Taiyuan's eyes widened in shock. Mu Luo wasn't an ordinary shatter cultivator. He couldn't defeat him alone. Taoist Taiyuan, come back. You're no match for him. Giant Yu shouted. Taiyuan didn't need Giant Yu's reminder to retreat on a streak of light. You want to leave? Mu Luo snorted and changed his hand seal. Countless vines punched at Taiyuan from afar. Startled, Taiyuan immediately summoned the divine mountain armor to protect himself. Many cultivators of the mountain realm cultivated this art. It allowed them to devour earthen veins and refine their natal divine mountain armor, granting them unparalleled defense. Taiyuan's divine mountain armor wouldn't be broken even by a slightly stronger shatter cultivator. However, the divine mountain armor trembled when Mu Luo's vines punched it. Countless cracks appeared on its surface, and it wasn't far from shattering. He himself also felt a sharp pain in his chest, and was slightly affected by the fist radiance. He retreated tens of thousands of feet in the sky before he managed to stabilize himself. He looked at Mu Luo with a venomous gaze. Taoist giant Yu, lend me a hand. All right. Without a word, forefather Ju Yu rode off on his water-repellent beast. He exchanged a look with Taiyuan, then transformed into two streaks of light and attacked Mu Luo from two different directions. 2 against 1. How despicable. A few young cultivators in 7 Apricot City complained. A few old monsters sighed. On the path of cultivation, the victor was king and the loser was the bandit. There was no such thing as despicable. Anyone with a discerning eye could see that Mu Luo was much stronger than Taiyuan. However, his chances of winning against both Taiyuan and Giant Yu at the same time weren't high. Come at me together. I have nothing to fear. Void art, omniscient nature. Mu Luo changed his hand seal, and a 50,000-meter-tall tree spirit manifested behind him. Wielding an enormous black wooden sword, the tree spirit swung at Taiyuan and Giant Yu. Both of their expressions changed, and they stopped their escape lights. Using their own methods, they were barely able to block the sword light. Before they could rest for a moment, the tree spirit swung its sword again, exhausting the two. Mu Luo couldn't defeat Taiyuan and Giant Yu with the tree spirit, but he was undefeatable. Where did this Mu Luo come from? He's fighting two at the same level and yet he's still undefeated. Zhao Banji inhaled. He'd never heard of such a powerful figure in the rain world. 10,000 years ago, Thunder Monarch Buzhou was infamous throughout the rain world. He'd almost overturned the rain world's status as the weakest in the 9 realms. Unfortunately, Thunder Monarch Buzhou perished under mysterious circumstances, leaving the rain world without a hero. Within 1,000 years, a white-robed sword god appeared in the rain world. He'd obtained the sword demon's inheritance and was nearly invincible at the same level. Unfortunately, it was said that he'd offended Yun Zhongshuan and had his cultivation sealed for many years. Otherwise, he might have broken through to the 5th fragmentation realm long ago. If that was the case, Zhao Banji and the others wouldn't dare to show off in the rain world. Apart from these two, there hadn't been any powerful figures in the rain world for tens of thousands of years. Where did this Mu Luo come from? He couldn't possibly be a nobody since he was able to fight two people at the same time. Looks like you'll need my help from the side. Zhao Banji's eyes flashed with a trace of sinister light. He secretly took out a golden pearl from his sleeve, raised his hand and threw it towards Mu Luo. This pearl was called the Great Earth Pearl. If it was used for a sneak attack, it was enough to tear open the flesh of an ordinary 5th fragmentation old monster. Even though Zhao Banji's attack was very secretive, many people still saw him sneak attack. Many people immediately shouted. Senior Mu Luo, be careful. Yu Lingkong's pretty face turned red like a blossoming peach. Shameless. The people of the mountain world were too shameless. Not only did they fight 2 against 1, they even had a third-person sneak attack from the side. Even in the cultivation world, it was rare to see such a shameless thing. Ji He, Mu Xiaohuan, Mu Xiaoyang and Feng Shuiyan who were just eating and drinking were even more furious. They didn't like the cultivation world and they hated Zhao Banji's despicable behavior even more. These people are really despicable. They snuck into the rain world to find trouble with Brother Fan. When they couldn't find Brother Fan, they attacked him. What a bunch of shameless old men. Sneak attack, huh? Mu Luo's eyes turned a little gloomy. At this moment, he was using all his strength to control the giant shadow of the tree demon to attack Taiyuan and Ju Yu. It would be difficult for him to have the remaining strength to block the sneak attack of the Great Earth Pearl. Just as he was thinking about how to break this pearl, a slightly illusory golden vortex suddenly appeared in front of the Great Earth Pearl. That Great Earth Pearl directly entered the vortex and vanished into thin air without making any sound. Who is it? How dare you take away my magic treasure? Zhao Banji was furious. His eyes were like lightning as he scanned the surroundings. Only then did he realize that a white-robed young man had appeared outside 7 Apricot City. That young man was very young. His bone age was only slightly more than 1,000 years. However, his chi was at the void fragmentation realm. The young man had refined the flowing light ring, a piece of spiritual equipment. His chi was ethereal and unfathomable. For a moment, Zhao Banji could not tell which heavenly layer the young man's cultivation base was. However, he recognized the young man's appearance. He knew that the young man's cultivation base was only at the first heavenly layer of the void fragmentation realm. The evil cloud rain sovereign, Ning Fan. Zhao Banji was so angry that he laughed. He didn't expect that his great earth pearl would be taken away by Ning Fan, who was just at the first heavenly layer of the void fragmentation realm. If the old monsters of the mountain world find out about this, he, Zhao Banji, would certainly become a laughing stock. Brother Fan. Quick! Go and teach these shameless old men a lesson. He waved her fists and said to Ning Fan angrily. Little cucumber, quickly go and chop them up. Yu Lingkong's beautiful eyes were as cold as ice. Big brother, you're here. Su Qiuling instantly felt relieved. As far as she was concerned, there was nothing that Ning Fan could not accomplish with his help. Su Yan, Gu Shinyang, Fen Qi, and the other devil concubines, as well as Bai Su, Yalan, and Su Yao, all of their nervousness disappeared the moment they saw Ning Fan. It was all because he was here in 7 Apricot City, don't worry. I'm here. Ning Fan's figure flashed and disappeared without a trace. At the next moment, he appeared in the sky. It was just a casual sentence, but it had a special magical power that made all the cultivators in 7 Apricot City believe that nothing bad would happen to the city as long as Ning Fan was here. Ning Fan walked towards Zhao Banji and the others step by step. He went past Ming Ke, the other women, and Mu Luo. As soon as he appeared, the two old ancestors, Tai Yuan and Zhu Yu, immediately stopped attacking and retreated. Their eyes narrowed slightly. Mu Luo also dispelled the shadow of the tree demon and said to Ning Fan. The enemy is a little troublesome. It's all right. Ning Fan stopped moving and his eyes flashed with cold light. The people of the world only knew that the rain world was the weakest. However, they did not know that it was Ning Fan who killed the Vine Sovereign and shocked the demon world. If Ning Fan was in the past, he might be afraid of these 5 old monsters of the mountain world. However, he had already taken dozens of void fragmentation realm lives along the way. Even in the demon world, he had never been afraid of them. Why would he be afraid of the mountain world? Ning Fan's body gave off the aura force of a sovereign that made one's heart palpitate. A trace of his sovereign chi was equivalent to 20 traces of other people's. The aura force of his sovereign chi was 20 times stronger than Zhao Banji's. When Zhao Banji was only 10,000 zhang away from him, the sovereign chi in his body was actually trembling. His expression changed and he looked at Ning Fan in disbelief. How many traces of sovereign chi does this young man have? He actually made my sovereign chi fear him. However, this young man is really arrogant. Looking at his expression, it seems like he doesn't put us in his eyes at all. Zhao Banji sneered and said with a clear voice. I am Zhao Banji. The reason why I came to the Rain World today is to demand an explanation from fellow Taoist Ning. The outside world has been saying that fellow Taoist Ning killed the previous Rain Sovereign. Is this true? Zhao Banji firmly believed that Ning Fan was just putting on an act. In fact, he was extremely afraid of the experts of the mountain world. He firmly believed that Ning Fan did not have the strength to kill Yun Zongshuan and he had never killed him before. He firmly believed that Ning Fan could only lower his head and admit his mistake in the face of his questioning. If Ning Fan was sensible and gave him half of the wealth of the Rain Palace, he would stop while he was ahead and not teach Ning Fan a lesson. If Ning Fan did not know what was good for him, even if Zhao Banji did not dare to publicly kill the Rain Sovereign and provoke the investigation of the deacons of the upper world, he would still severely injure Ning Fan and kill him to his heart's content in 7 Apricot City to teach Ning Fan a painful lesson. The Rain World was the weakest in the 9 worlds. The weak were born to be bullied by the strong. Ning Fan did not answer Zhao Banji's question. Instead, he glanced at the crowd below him and pointed at one of them. You, come up here. Yes. The cultivator who was pointed at by Ning Fan immediately flew into the sky and bowed respectfully to Ning Fan. He was a revered elder of the Rain Palace. His cultivation base was at the mid-divine transformation realm. Ever since Ning Fan became the divine sovereign of the Rain world, Li Tsangtian had sent many revered elders of the Rain Palace to listen to Ning Fan's orders. Now that Ning Fan was the Rain sovereign, this revered elder naturally did not dare to show any disrespect to him. Let me ask you. According to the agreement between the 9 worlds, can cultivators from another world enter my Rain world without the permission of the divine sovereign of this world? Ning Fan asked indifferently. According to the rules, they can't. However, if the cultivators who enter the Rain world do not have any malicious intent, no one will usually pursue the matter. That revered elder answered respectfully. If the cultivators from another world intrude my Rain world and die here, how should we deal with this matter? Ning Fan asked again. Death cannot atone for their crimes. No one will pursue the matter. However, under normal circumstances, only void fragmentation realm old monsters can intrude into other worlds. No one will kill a void fragmentation realm old monster. That revered elder answered again. All right. You can go down now. Ning Fan gave an indifferent order and that revered elder immediately descended to the ground. Ning Fan raised his head and his eyes suddenly swept across the 5 old monsters of the mountain world. All of you have heard it. If you die in the Rain world, the mountain world will not pursue the matter. If the cultivators who intrude my Rain world do not have any malicious intent, it is not necessary for me to kill them. However, all of you wanted to harm the cultivators of my Rain world without saying anything. It seems like your malicious intent is not light. Since that is the case, you can just die in the Rain world. I want to let all the worlds see if my Rain world is really the weakest in the 9 worlds and can be bullied easily. Senior Mu Luo, you deal with that Zhao Banji. Leave the rest to me. Mu Luo was stunned. Even he did not expect that Ning Fan would actually have killing intent towards the 5 cultivators of the mountain world. Zhao Banji and the others were stunned. Then, all of them raised their heads and laughed heartily. You're just a little kid with a bone age of 1,000 years. You sure have a big mouth. Originally, I just wanted to gain some benefits from entering the Rain world. Since you don't know what's good for you, I won't say anything more. Fellow Daoist Heng Sha, I will leave this little kid to you. Fellow Daoist Taiyuan, fellow Daoist Ju Yu, the 2 of you hold Mu Luo back. Fellow Daoist Shimi, follow this old man and slaughter this city. As soon as Zhao Banji finished speaking, the sect master of the Red Sand sect who had lost 3% of his cultivation base immediately burst into laughter. He held a blood-red banner in his hand and rushed towards Ning Fan. Sinful Cloud Rain Sovereign, grant me your guidance. The sect master of the Red Sand sect sneered. He did not put Ning Fan in his eyes at all. He waved the blood-red banner and countless blood-red ghosts immediately surrounded Ning Fan. The eyes of these ghostly figures were lifeless. If a cultivator were to come into contact with these ghostly figures, they would lose a great deal of their essence blood. If one touched it too much, they would die under the attacks of the ghostly shadows. This treasure could instantly kill a shatter cultivator. Even an ordinary shatter cultivator wouldn't be able to block the attack of the ghost shadow. Destroy. Ning Fan's second heavenly layer void fragmentation realm aura force suddenly soared into the sky. Sword light flashed from his sword and a black sword sense spread across the entire sky. Each of the ghostly shadows that were struck by the sword sense died instantly. Second heavenly layer of the void fragmentation realm. Didn't the reports say that he was a demolisher? The 5 mountain realm eccentrics were visibly taken aback. So what if it was broken in 2? It was only slightly stronger than Shatter 1, but it wasn't worth mentioning to the 5 of them. Red Sand Formation, open. The sect master of the Red Sand sect waved the blood-red banner again. All of a sudden, an enormous blood-red formation diagram appeared in the sky. This formation diagram was called the Red Sand Formation. It was powerful enough to instantly kill a shatter cultivator. Ning Fan did not say much. He took a step forward and transformed into his black robes. His eyes were as cold as ice, indifferent and emotionless. At the moment he transformed into his incarnation, his cultivation base instantly skyrocketed to the third heavenly layer unrivaled realm. He raised his hand and extracted all the earth souls and void souls and swallowed them into his stomach. Ning Fan's aura force rose steadily. In an instant, his cultivation base reached the fourth heavenly layer of the void fragmentation realm. He lifted his foot and stomped on the ground. The red sand formation diagram shattered into countless blood-red light spots. He lifted his finger and pointed at the ground. All of a sudden, a gigantic golden vortex appeared beneath the sect master's feet. Outside of that golden vortex, there was another golden vortex that was even larger. The two vortexes rotated violently in opposite directions, forming two completely opposite ripping forces. Spatial strangulation, the expression of the sect master of the Red Sand sect changed drastically. His lower body began to rotate clockwise with his waist as the center while his upper body began to rotate counterclockwise. It was his first time witnessing such a strange phenomenon. It was as if there was a huge invisible hand twisting him like a towel. Before he could react, his body had already been twisted into two by the spatial vortex force. His physical body had been destroyed. His primordial spirit escaped from the dismembered body in a panic and desperately tried to escape towards Xiaobanji and the others. He was afraid. Terrified. How could he have imagined that Ning Fan was not a first heavenly layer void fragmentation realm weakling like the information he received? Instead, he was a shatter second heavenly layer void fragmentation realm cultivator who could instantly raise his cultivation base to the fourth heavenly layer of the void fragmentation realm. He was one cultivation level lower than Ning Fan. He was no match for Ning Fan at all. Fellow Taoist Red Sand, be careful. Zhao Banji and the others shouted with a change of expression. However, right in front of Red Sand's primordial spirit, another gigantic golden vortex suddenly appeared. Red Sand was running too fast. He could not avoid it in time and directly fell into the vortex. Then, he heard a miserable scream coming from within the vortex. Red Sand was dead. Senior Muluo, go and deal with Xiao Banji. I only have 3 opponents left. Ning Fan casually kept Red Sand's storage pouch. His eyes flashed with blood-red light and his baleful chi dyed the vast sky red. After sensing Ning Fan's terrifying baleful chi and ferocious might, Zhao Banji and the others turned pale with fright. He killed a rogue immortal before. He killed a rogue immortal before. Chapter 659. Fake, this evil chi must be fake. This old man has heard of a demonic path mystic technique that can fake baleful aura. Many people, upon seeing the frightening baleful aura of the enemy, would often turn around and flee without a fight. Ning Fan's baleful chi must be a disguise. How could he possibly kill a rogue immortal old monster? He purposely disguised his baleful aura in an attempt to scare us away. How despicable. Old ancestor Zhu Yu harumphed coldly and was the first to regain his composure. He called Ning Fan despicable, but he did not know that Ning Fan had never faked his baleful chi. It was truly despicable of him to gang up on Mu Luo with Taiyuan forefather. Fellow Taoist Zhu Yu is right. This child's baleful aura is definitely fake. However, we have indeed underestimated this young man and ended fellow Taoist Hong Sha's life in vain. I didn't expect him to be so proficient in the soul extraction technique and incarnation technique. His cultivation base is only at the second heavenly layer of the void fragmentation realm, but he can instantly raise his cultivation base to the fourth heavenly layer of the void fragmentation realm. I can't underestimate this kid anymore. Taiyuan said solemnly. So what if you're a fourth demolisher? This kid is definitely not my opponent. Old monster Su Mi's eyes turned gloomy. Before he could finish his words, a gigantic golden vortex suddenly appeared beneath his feet. His expression immediately changed. He withdrew his body and flew backwards while shouting in Ning Fan's direction in anger. "Despicable brat, how dare you sneak attack me? Sneak attack. I have already declared war on all of you, haven't I? Return." Ning Fan flicked his finger continuously. Several hundreds of gigantic golden vortexes appeared in the sky one after another, sealing off all of Old Monster Shumi's escape routes. Shumi Old Monster was careless, and stepped into a whirlpool that had just appeared, both his feet immediately sinking. His expression changed, and just as he was about to break free from the vortex, hundreds of golden vortexes suddenly appeared around the vortex. All of the whirlpools produced a strong suction force. In just an instant, Old Monster Shumi was sucked into the whirlpools and sealed inside Ning Fan's natal heavenly dwelling. Fellow Taoist Shumi. Where did you take fellow Taoist Sumi? Zhao Banji, Taiyuan, and Jiyue paled. This spatial vortex technique was very strange. It appeared without any warning and was very difficult to defend against. Previously, Ning Fan had easily killed the sect master of the Red Sand sect with the spatial vortex technique. Now, he had forcefully taken away the Shumi Old Monster with hundreds of golden vortexes. It seemed like Shumi Old Monster had been sealed in some kind of magical heavenly dwelling by Ning Fan. Thinking of this, the three of them were slightly relieved. What Old Monster Shumi was most proficient in was space-related divine abilities. If he is sealed in the space of Ning Fan's heavenly dwelling, Old Monster Shumi would certainly have a way to escape. Unfortunately, the three of them had overestimated Old Monster Shumi's abilities and underestimated the strength of Ning Fan's natal heavenly dwelling. Inside the pure gold heavenly cave, Shumi Old Monster looked at the 72 floating golden continents in the heavenly cave, his eyes filled with shock. He who had always been proficient in spatial abilities was actually sucked away by Ning Fan's spatial ability. This was just too unbelievable. Shumi Old Monster discovered that this heavenly grotto heaven space was a high-grade heavenly grotto heaven, and there was no defensive array formation, so it was not difficult to break. There was a dissolving force in the cave, which was slowly melting his body and Yuanshan into a pool of blood. The speed of dissolving was not fast. Ning Fan's current cultivation base was at the 4th break realm and his cultivation base was also at the 4th break realm. It would take at least 100 breaths of time before he would be melted into a pool of blood. 100 breaths is enough for me to escape. I only need half a breath of time to break this high-grade heavenly grotto heaven. Break! Shumi Old Monster pointed his finger, shooting out a ray of silver light at the barrier of the heavenly grotto heaven. The barrier trembled and then shattered into pieces. Shumi Old Monster sneered, mocking Ning Fan for trying to trap him with a high-grade heavenly grotto heaven that did not have any formations. What a wishful thinking. After breaking the barrier of the heavenly grotto heaven, he thought that he would be teleported out of this heavenly grotto heaven. However, things did not turn out as he wished. He did not manage to escape. Shumi Old Monster found it hard to believe that after breaking a high-grade heavenly grotto heaven, there was still another heavenly grotto heaven surrounding him. He attacked again and broke another layer of the heavenly grotto heaven. However, there were still countless heavenly grotto heavens surrounding him. Limitless heavenly grotto heaven. Not good. If I can't find a way to break out of this heavenly grotto heaven within 100 breaths, I will melt into a pool of blood and die here. Boom boom boom. He kept shattering the heavenly grotto heavens, but there were still endless heavenly grotto heavens surrounding him. I can't escape, I can't escape. With his cultivation, he could not see through the mysteries of this infinite heavenly grotto heaven. With Ning Fan's current magic power cultivation base and the cultivation base of the spatial vortex technique, it would take him 100 breaths of time to melt a 4th body-shattering realm cultivator and 2 hours to melt a 5th body-shattering realm cultivator. If he were to kill a 6th body-shattering realm cultivator, not only would he not be able to keep him into his spatial zone, even if he was lucky enough to do so, he would not be able to kill him. The speed at which Ning Fan killed the cultivators would increase along with the increase of his cultivation base. It would also increase along with the number of cultivators he killed. Every time a cultivator died in the void vortex heaven, their flesh and blood would be absorbed by the void vortex heaven to increase its lethality. If Ning Fan had not comprehended the limitless heavenly dwelling technique, he might have set up a formation in his natal heavenly dwelling to prevent others from destroying it. Now that he had the infinite grotto heaven, he didn't need to do that anymore. Even among the itinerant immortals, not many of them could see through the profundities of the infinite grotto heaven. Strange. Why hasn't old monster Shumi broken free yet? Could it be that he's trapped in the infinite grotto heaven? Just as Zhao Banji and the others were thinking about this question, Mu Luo let out a cold laugh. Then, he turned into a ray of escaping light and charged at Zhao Banji. Ning Fan had said that he would hold Zhao Banji back while he would kill the rest. At first, Mu Luo did not believe that Ning Fan had the strength to fight against 2 5-break realm cultivators alone. After witnessing the power of the spatial vortex technique, he believed it. I am a vile person. I will always take revenge for my grudges. Die. Mu Luo pointed a finger forward, and pure wood elemental demonic energy transformed into streaks of extremely sharp azure sword light that pierced towards Zhao Banji. Zhao Banji's expression darkened. He immediately summoned the divine mountain armor to protect himself and took Mu Luo's attack head-on. Among this group of cultivators from the mountain world, Zhao Banji was the strongest. His divine mountain armor was strong enough to shatter the attacks of 6 cultivators. Mu Luo's sword light was blocked by the divine mountain armor. Zhao Banji remained unscathed. He raised his hand and took out a fiery red pearl, throwing it at Mu Luo. Without saying anything, Mu Luo raised his hand and crushed the fiery red pearl with a finger. The cultivators of the mountain world were good at defense but bad at offense. Mu Luo and Zhao Banji's expressions turned grim. Mu Luo had to admit that Zhao Banji's defense was very shocking. It was not something he could break. Zhao Banji, on the other hand, realized that he was no match for Mu Luo. He could only rely on the divine mountain armor to protect himself at most. It was impossible for him to defeat Mu Luo. I will hold this man back. The 2 of you kill Ning Fan. I will bear the responsibility of killing the Rain Sovereign. Zhao Banji's face turned pale. He finally realized that it was a mistake to bring his companions to the Rain World to blackmail and extort. After Yun Zongshuan's death, the Rain World did not become weaker. Instead, it became stronger. Hong Sha fell and Sumi was trapped. There were 5 of them when they came, but only 3 of them were left in the blink of an eye. The evil cloud Rain Sovereign, Ning Fan, was a ruthless character. He really should not have come here to provoke him. However, the grudge between them had already been formed. Since the other party had the intention to kill him, he had no choice but to kill him. He had no other choice. Even if he had to commit the crime of killing a sovereign beyond his territory and be punished by the deacons of the 4 heavens, he still had to kill Ning Fan. As soon as Zhao Banji finished his words, old ancestor Taiyuan stepped on the golden compass while old ancestor Zhu Yu rode on the water-repelling beast and attacked Ning Fan. Both of their faces turned pale. They also realized that extorting Ning Fan was a wrong decision. They came to the wrong place. They shouldn't have come to the Rain World. However, it was useless for them to regret now. They could only kill Ning Fan. Ning Fan patted his storage pouch and took out the ancient golden sword. Then, he rode the sword and avoided their attacks. He had trapped old monster Sumi with the spatial vortex technique. Before old monster Sumi dies, he could not take away any 5-break realm cultivator. 100 breaths. After 100 breaths, old monster Sumi would die in the spatial vortex. At that time, Ning Fan could then kill the other 5-break realm cultivator. Humph. Weren't you very arrogant just now? Why? Do you only know how to run now? Old ancestor Zhu Yu sneered. He raised his hand and took out the jade bowl magic treasure. As soon as the jade bowl rose into the sky, its mouth immediately became incomparably huge and fell on Ning Fan's head. That jade bowl was attached to his spirit and had the ability to freeze his body. Ning Fan could not move his body to escape the attack range of the jade bowl. Spatial vortex teleportation. Ning Fan changed his hand seal and a massive golden vortex immediately appeared under the ancient golden sword. It sucked Ning Fan into the vortex and he disappeared on the spot. The jade bowl magic treasure missed its target. At the next moment, a golden vortex suddenly appeared 10,000 zhang away. Ning Fan's body flashed. He stepped on the ancient sword and appeared in the golden light. The spatial vortex teleportation was a type of spatial teleportation ability. Its effect was a few times stronger than the void teleportation technique. Ning Fan had once used this technique to directly send his cultivation method to Li Long. With his current cultivation base, he was still unable to perform long-distance teleportation. He could only teleport within 10,000 zhang. Even so, it was enough for him to avoid old ancestor Zhu Yu's attack. Brat, die. A sharp killing intent suddenly came from behind. Old ancestor Taiyuan seemed to have predicted Ning Fan's teleportation location in advance. The moment Ning Fan appeared, he immediately took out his magic treasure and attacked without saying a word. It was an awl-shaped magic treasure. It was black and was called the armor-piercing awl. It was used to break one's defense and launch sneak attacks. Ning Fan retreated with his sword and lifted his finger to point at the armor-piercing awl. A golden vortex immediately appeared in front of the armor-piercing awl and sucked it into it. At the next moment, a golden vortex suddenly appeared behind old ancestor Zhu Yu. The armor-piercing awl flew out from it and aimed at the vital parts on his back. Ning Fan directly used the spatial vortex teleportation and teleported the armor-piercing awl to another place. Old ancestor Zhu Yu's hair stood on end. He could feel an extremely sharp magic treasure coming at him from behind. The armor-piercing awl. It was the magic treasure that old ancestor Taiyuan used to attack Ning Fan. However, Ning Fan had used a strange ability to change the direction of its attack and it was coming at him instead. Old ancestor Zhu Yu could no longer avoid the owl's attack. He gritted his teeth and summoned the divine mountain armor to protect himself. Divine mountain armor, appear. Dark yellow stone-like skin appeared all over his body. It was like a suit of armor that protected his body. He seemed to have turned into a stone man. His defense had reached its peak at this moment. The armor-piercing awl struck the divine mountain armor with a loud bang. However, it only broke a layer of defense on the surface of the armor. Old ancestor Zhu Yu felt relieved. Even though his divine mountain armor was not as powerful as Zhao Banji's, it was still slightly stronger than old ancestor Taiyuan's. Thus, it naturally would not be broken by the armor-piercing awl so easily. Old ancestor Zhu Yu raised his hand and returned the armor-piercing awl to old ancestor Taiyuan. Old ancestor Taiyuan's face turned red. He was clearly going to attack Ning Fan but he ended up attacking old ancestor Zhu Yu instead. Luckily, he did not hurt old ancestor Zhu Yu. If he was injured in the slightest, his old face would really be useless. The dignified 5-break-old monster actually used his magic treasure on his own ally. How embarrassing. This young man's strength is not as good as mine or Taiyuan. However, his abilities are strange. I can't take him down within a short period of time. Old ancestor Zhu Yu and old ancestor Taiyuan worked together to besiege Ning Fan. With the speed of the ancient golden sword and the power of the spatial vortex technique, Ning Fan was more than capable of protecting himself. 100 breaths passed very quickly. In despair, old monster Shumi turned into a pool of blood and died in the spatial vortex cave. His blood seeped into the spatial vortex cave, adding a trace of blood-red color to the cave. He was the first person to kill in the spatial vortex cave but he would not be the last. The more he killed, the faster the spatial vortex cave would dissolve the cultivators. Golden light flashed in front of Ning Fan and a storage pouch appeared in front of him. It was old monster Shumi's storage pouch. Ning Fan kept the storage pouch. He knew that old monster Shumi was already dead. Now, he could continue to take away the next person and kill him. Isn't that old monster Shumi's storage pouch? How did this brat take it away? Old monster Taiyuan's eyes were filled with surprise. Old monster Shumi is a greedy and stingy person. If he is not dead, he would never hand over his storage pouch. Could it be that he is already dead? He died in this brat's heavenly dwelling. How is this possible? Old ancestor Ju Yu was also shocked. That's right. Old monster Shumi is already dead. It's the next one's turn. Ning Fan's eyes flashed with a cold light. He had been besieged by 2 fifth break realm experts for 100 breaths. Now, it was his turn to counterattack. He stepped on the tip of the ancient sword and performed a hand seal with all 10 of his fingers. Traces of golden light that seemed to be real yet illusory revolved around his fingers. At the same time, 4 incomparably massive golden vortexes appeared around old monster Taiyuan. Each of the vortexes shot out a ray of golden light that pierced through his heart like a cross. The cross did not hurt him at all. However, it trapped him at the center of the 4 vortexes, rendering him unable to move for a moment. Spatial intertwining vortexes. 4 golden vortexes also appeared around old monster Taiyue. However, he was much more decisive. As soon as the vortexes appeared, he immediately jumped off the water-repelling beast. With a sway of his body, he avoided being pierced through by the 4 vortexes. His water-repelling beast, on the other hand, was not as lucky. It was fixed in midair by the light of the cross. Then, a massive golden vortex appeared under the feet of the water-repelling beast and old ancestor Taiyuan respectively. They were sucked into the vortex and sealed inside the spatial vortex cave. The water-repelling beast was merely a void-tempered beast. Half a breath after being sealed inside the cave, it shrieked in agony and died as a puddle of blood. Taiyuan's heart trembled as he looked at the puddle of blood beside him. He could imagine that old monster Shumi, who'd been sealed inside the cave, would have died in the same manner. How frightening. This cave is very strange. Given my cultivation, I'd die as a puddle of blood if I stayed here for 2 hours. However, it's only a high-grade cave. It won't be difficult to shatter it. Don't even think of trapping me with it. With a cold snort, Taiyuan raised his armor-piercing awl and shattered the cave's space. His figure blurred as he tried to leave the cave, only to find that he was still unable to do so. Only then did he realize that the cave was layered with layers upon layers. He raised his armor-piercing awl again and shattered a layer of the cave, but there was still another outside. Again and again, he found to his dismay that there was still a heaven beyond the heavens, a boundless paradise. No wonder old monster Shumi would die here. My understanding of the heavenly abode technique isn't even as good as old monster Shumi. If he can't escape, how can I? This is bad. This is bad. If I can't get out of this place within 2 hours, I'll certainly die as a puddle of blood. Rumble. 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 Taiyuan had no idea how many layers of the cave he'd shattered, but he still couldn't leave. His heart grew heavier and the despair in his eyes increased. In the outside world, Ning Fan was already fighting against old ancestor Ju Yu. Zhao Banji was still fighting Mu Luo in a stalemate. Relying on his unparalleled defense, he was barely not defeated. At this moment, Zhao Banji and old ancestor Ju Yu's eyes were filled with fear. The sect master of the Red Sands sect had died under Ning Fan's spatial vortex. Old monster Shumi had died in Ning Fan's spatial vortex. Now, old ancestor Taiyuan had also been sucked away by the spatial vortex. No one knew if he was still alive or not, damn it. What kind of ability is that golden vortex? How could it be so powerful? Zhao Banji's expression was uncertain. What he didn't know was that this was the signature technique of the 3 Realms sect in the Heaven Immortal realm, the Vortex technique. The 3 Realms sect had always kept a low profile in the immortal world. Although there were quite a few people in the sect who cultivated the vortex art, they rarely revealed it to the public. At this moment, he didn't have any intention to fight, and he just wanted to flee back to the mountain dimension. Ning Fan was just too powerful. With just the ancient golden sword beneath his feet, no one could harm his life today. The speed of the ancient golden sword could easily crush the 6 cultivators. If Ning Fan fled on the sword, Zhao Banji would not even be able to catch up to him, let alone kill him. Instead, he used the ancient sword and the spatial vortex technique to deal with old ancestor Ju Yu. That was the scariest part. Zhao Banji inwardly speculated that perhaps Ning Fan had some kind of restriction when he took away old monster Shumi and old ancestor Taiyuan's heavenly dwelling. He could only take away one person at a time. Thinking of this, his heart suddenly trembled, and his decision to leave became even more resolute. Ning Fan was clearly waiting for his skills to cool down. Once he was done with Taiyuan, his next target would be him. Rain Sovereign, please calm down. I was reckless this time. I shouldn't have come to the Rain world to create trouble. Rain Sovereign, please forgive me and let me go back to the mountain dimension for the sake of my relationship with the previous Rain Sovereign. Zhao Banji gritted his teeth and began to show weakness. Old ancestor Ju Yu's face showed hesitation. His skin was not as thick as Zhao Banji's. He could not beg for mercy. However, his eyes flickered. He also wanted to escape back to the mountain dimension. He did not want to waste another 2 hours here and be killed by Ning Fan whose skills were on cooldown. Zhao Banji begged for mercy because he could not get away from Mu Luo. Old ancestor Ju Yu, on the other hand, did not have such concerns. His strength was above Ning Fan. Even though he could not kill Ning Fan could not trap him either. If he wanted to leave, Ning Fan would not be able to stop him. I'm sorry. The situation forced me to leave first. Fellow Daoist Xiao, you're on your own now. Old ancestor Ju Yu raised his hand and took out a jade slip of the realm gate. He crushed it, planning to abandon Zhao Banji and escape alone. If he didn't run away, he could at least hold Ning Fan back and share some of Zhao Banji's burden. If he escapes, Ning Fan would naturally split up his forces and launch a pincer attack on Zhao Banji. Then, Zhao Banji's chances of survival would become even slimmer. The instant ancestor Ju Yu crushed the jade slip, a bright light flashed behind him, and a huge dark yellow realm gate appeared. Zhao Banji's face turned ashen when he saw that old ancestor Ju Yu wanted to abandon him and flee on his own. He cursed old ancestor Ju Yu in his heart. The cultivation world was cruel, and cultivators were selfish. If they joined hands to bully the weak, they would naturally collude with each other. If a great disaster were to befall them, they could only return to their respective homes and find their mothers. It was better for them to die than for me. I'm finished. With Ju Yu gone, I'll definitely die. I'll definitely die. If I die, I won't die because of Ning Fan, the Rain Sovereign, but because of Ju Yu. When Zhao Banji saw old ancestor Ju Yu step into the realm gate and escape along the realm passage, despair filled his face. If he had known it would be like this, he wouldn't have acted in the first place. He shouldn't have come to the Rain world, he shouldn't have come. What the 9 worlds are the weakest? What the new sovereign is weak? Nonsense. Nonsense. Even though the current Rain world was still unable to squeeze into the 3 middle realms, it was definitely not the weakest in the 9 worlds. Zhao Banji was confident that he was not weaker than the sovereigns of the 3 lower worlds. However, even he found it hard to protect himself in the Rain world. If the other sovereigns of the 3 lower worlds attack the Rain world, they would certainly end up the same way, death. Has he escaped? What a pity. Even though my spatial vortex technique has reached the grand completion stage, my cultivation base is still not strong enough. I can't kill all of them in one fell swoop. What a pity. Zili, go and kill him. Remember to bring his storage pouch back. Ning Fan shook his cauldron ring. A purple-black light flashed in the sky and a gigantic purple-eyed peacock appeared. As soon as the purple-eyed peacock appeared, an extremely evil and ferocious beast chi swept across the entire 7-apricot city. Zhao Banji's entire body began to tremble. Shatter. Shatter 6 sovereign beasts. Moreover, the chi of this sovereign beast is extremely ferocious. I'm afraid there aren't many people who are its match even among those at the 6th break realm. The Rain Sovereign of Evil Cloud actually has such a ferocious beast. Even the 7 break old monsters of my mountain world wouldn't dare to come to the Rain world recklessly. Moreover, we are still in a tough battle with the Earth immortal world. Following Ning Fan's order, Niali flapped his wings and turned into a purple-black demonic rainbow. He flew into the realm gate and chased after old ancestor Ju Yu. Old ancestor Ju Yu, who was fleeing desperately on the realm passage, heaved a sigh of relief, thinking that he had escaped from death. Suddenly, he felt the terrifying chi of a ferocious beast coming from behind him. He turned his head to take a look. With just a single glance, his face turned pale with fright. Saw. 6 break invincible sovereign beast. How is this possible? Nia Li's purple eyes were filled with faint disdain. He suddenly flapped his wings. Waves of purple-black wind blades cut old ancestor Ju Yu into countless pieces in just an instant. All the flesh and essence of old ancestor Ju Yu's corpse were absorbed by Nia Li. As for the storage pouch, Nia Li held it in his mouth and brought it back to Ning Fan. In the past, Nia Li was able to kill the Vine Sovereign when his cultivation base was only at the 5th break realm. Today, Nia Li's cultivation base was much higher while old ancestor Ju Yu was much weaker than the Vine Sovereign. He did not even have the strength to fight back against Nia Li. After tens of breaths, Nia Li returned with old ancestor Ju Yu's storage pouch in his mouth and passed it to Ning Fan. Ning Fan's eyes were cold. He raised his hand and pointed at Zhao Banji. Kill him. Shriek. Nia Li let out a long cry. He turned into a purple-black demonic rainbow and rushed towards Zhao Banji. My life is over. Zhao Banji closed his eyes in despair. He knew that he was going to die for sure. Since I can't escape, I won't run anymore. Suddenly, he opened his eyes. They glinted with ferocious light and he stared at Ning Fan with extreme hatred. Let's perish together, Nia Yun Reign Sovereign. At this moment, Zhao Banji ignited his primordial spirit and chose to die by self-detonation. Even if he dies, he would drag a few of them down with him. Nia Li's face was filled with disdain. He opened his mouth and sucked all of Zhao Banji's self-detonation force into his stomach, leaving him unscathed. If Zhao Banji's cultivation base was at the 6th break realm, Nia Li would still be a little afraid. Why would Nia Li be afraid of a mere 5th break realm cultivator? Ning Fan raised his hand and kept Zhao Banji's storage pouch. Then, his eyes swept across the surroundings. At this moment, tens of thousands of cultivators in the entire 7 Apricot City were filled with disbelief. Their eyes were filled with unconcealable fanaticism. This was the true strength of the Nia Yun Reign Sovereign, Ning Fan. All the cultivators of the mountain world who barged into the rain world to show off their strength had died in the rain world. If this matter is spread out, the 9 worlds would certainly be shaken. From today onwards, who would still dare to say that the rain world is the weakest in the 9 worlds? Those cultivators from the other worlds who wanted to sneak into the rain world with ill intentions would need to reconsider their actions from today onwards. Ning Fan shook his cauldron ring and kept Nia Li. He thought further. Nia Li was exposed once again. This time, many people would probably guess that he was the culprit who killed the Vine Sovereign. Will the remaining members of the 3 Worlds sect come to seek revenge? The sect master of the 3 Worlds sect had died on the way to assassinate Liu Bei. Chapter 660. In the void between the mountain world and the earth god world, a barren continent floated in the air. This was the void battlefield where the 2 realms fought. There were countless temporary cultivation cities built on it. The entire continent was covered by a formation, isolating it from the void storm. Both realms had dispatched hundreds of thousands of cultivators above the nascent soul stage, and they had been fighting here for several years. This battle would last for at least a few years, and at most a few decades. There were 15 void fragmentation realm experts in the cultivation city of the mountain realm. On the side of the earth immortal world, there were 21 void fragmentation realm experts guarding the battlefield in the void. The 2 sides did not fight to the death. Most of the time, it was a large-scale battle between low-level cultivators. There were very few battles between void fragmentation realm experts. After all, every single one of them was an old monster who had cultivated for tens of thousands of years. He wasn't willing to take the risk unless it was absolutely necessary. Zhao Banji left the battlefield and hasn't returned yet. Where did he go? In a cultivation city in the mountain realm, a bald old man frowned with displeasure. This bald old man was one of the 4-7 shatter old monsters of the mountain world, and he was the ancestor of the West Mountain Hall. He had always admired Zhao Banji and had tried to recruit him into the West Mountain Hall. For this realm war, he had specially invited Zhao Banji to assist him. Who would have thought that Zhao Banji would leave the battlefield without permission? Reporting to Old Ancestor, Senior Zhao went to the Rain World. It is said that before he went to the Rain World, he also invited a few close friends, saying that he wanted to go to the Rain World to ask for some benefits. A divine transformation realm cultivator replied respectfully. Going to the Rain World to seek benefits? This Zhao Banji. Old Ancestor West Mountain laughed and shook his head. Since Zhao Banji was only going to extort money from the Rain Palace, he would return to the battlefield sooner or later. As long as he would come back, that was enough. The Rain World just lost the Rain Emperor, and there are 2 new Divine Emperors, but their cultivation levels are so low that they are not worth mentioning. The Rain World was destined to decline. Zhao Banji's trip to the Rain Immortal World will surely be fruitful. Old Ancestor Shishan was smiling when his face suddenly stiffened. Then, he revealed an extremely shocked expression. Patting his storage pouch, he took out a fate token that had been broken in half. His eyes gradually darkened. Zhao Banji died in the Rain World. How is this possible? It's just a mere Rain World. When the low-grade cultivators below heard that Zhao Banji was dead, they revealed expressions of extreme shock. They all knew that Zhao Banji's strength was comparable to the current 4 emperors of the mountain realm, and he was almost no weaker than the previous Rain Emperor, Yun Zongxian. It was said that the Rain World had just lost a divine emperor and their only 5 Shatterer realm cultivator. How could such a ruthless character like Zhao Banji die in the Rain World? Rain World, Mountain of Rain World, World of World God. I want to know how Zhao Banji died. Old Ancestor Shishan's eyes were extremely gloomy. World Ancestor, and World God. Dragon. A of World Ancestor. A World Sect. World of Emperor of World. Dragon. In Zhao Banji's group, there were 3 5th Shatter Realm Experts, 1 4th Shatter Realm Expert and 1 3rd Shatter Realm Expert. Almost all of them had died in the hands of the Rain Sovereign Ning Fan. In this battle, Ning Fan used a Purple Eye Peacock which had a cultivation base of Realm 6 Dragon Fan. Purple Eye Peacock. Purple Eye Peacock. Isn't it very similar to the ferocious beast that destroyed the Vine Palace of the Tree World? I remember that the ferocious beast was called Nyeli. However, it seemed to be a Realm 5 Dragon Realm cultivator. Could it be that the infamous Northern Tree Sovereign Liu Bei is the Rain Sovereign Ning Fan? It's not impossible. What I didn't expect the most is that the Rain World actually has a mysterious Realm 7 Dragon Fan. A Realm 7 Dragon Fan, a Realm 6 Dragon Fan, a Realm 5 Dragon Fan and a Realm 7 Dragon Fan who could kill a Realm 5 Dragon Fan. There are quite a lot of experts above the Realm 5 Dragon Fan. Old Ancestor Shishan frowned deeply. Initially, he wanted to leave the battlefield and go to the Rain World to avenge Zhao Banji. Now that he knew that there was a Realm 7 Dragon Fan in the Rain World, even he would not dare to sneak into the Rain World and attack the Rain Palace. I didn't expect the Rain World to become so powerful after Yun Zongxuan's death. I can't simply sneak into the Rain World anymore. Ning Fan, huh? Humph. He's quite a character. He's even stronger than Yun Zongxuan. Old Ancestor Shishan's eyes turned gloomy. In the end, he no longer mentioned anything about Zhao Banji's death. Tree World, Eastern Tree Sea, Bamboo Palace. The Bamboo Sovereign looked at the jade slip in his hand with a complicated expression. Liu Bei's true identity is most likely the Divine Sovereign of the Rain World, Ning Fan. I didn't expect such a heaven-shaking figure to appear in the Rain World. What's even more unexpected is that there's actually a Realm 7 Dragon Fan in the Rain World right now. Looks like it's my tree world's turn to wear the title of being the weakest in the 9 worlds. Southern Tree Sea, Lu Palace. Lu Haoyue looked at the information in his hand in silence. After a long time, he suddenly burst into laughter. His eyes were filled with admiration. Brother Ning killed 5 void fragmentation realm experts of the mountain world alone, including 3 realm 5 dragon fan. I'm no match for him. With him around, the rain world will most likely rise in this generation. Heaven Immortal World, 3 Worlds Sect. After the death of the previous sect master, the 3 Worlds Sect elected a new sect master after a series of battles. The new sect master was the only realm 7 dragon fan in the sect. His name was Gu Dao. At this moment, he was holding a piece of information with a gloomy expression. It seems like the Rain Sovereign Ning Fan is most likely Liu Bei, who caused chaos in the tree world. Liu Bei. Humph. According to the divination of the Heaven Mending sect, the old sect master died in Liu Bei's hands. He is Liu Bei. On the surface, there's already a Realm 7 Dragon Fan in the Rain world. There might be an even stronger old monster in the dark. Otherwise, it's impossible for him to harm the old sect master. We can only put aside the revenge of the old sect master for the time being. Send people to keep a close eye on the Rain world. If Ning Fan leaves the Rain world and sneaks into other worlds, I'll personally take action and kill him. Devil World, Nirvana Palace. The young Moksha sovereign was sitting on the throne. He was holding a piece of information in his hand with a gloomy expression. Behind the young Moksha sovereign stood an elderly Moksha sovereign. His eyes were equally cold. The middle-aged Moksha sovereign had already died in Ning Fan's hands. This was Moksha sovereign's body with 3 bodies. Damn it! This kid has already matured. I can't go to the Rain world so easily anymore. Han Yuanji really treats this disciple very well. He has only cultivated for 60 years and his bone age is 1,000 years old, but he has already broken through to the 2nd heavenly layer of the void fragmentation realm. Humph. It's obvious that Han Yuanji has given the foundation of the Black Evil sect to this kid for his breakthrough. Ning Fan. Humph. You'd better not fall into my hands. The young Moksha sovereign crushed the jade slip in his hand. His eyes were filled with killing intent. In an icy sword city in the sword world. The old monster looked at the information in his hand in disbelief. It was too unbelievable. Brat Ning Fan has broken 2 of his jade slip. Moreover, he fought against 5 of them alone and killed 3 of them. One of them was at the 4th heavenly layer and the last one was at the 3rd heavenly layer. How many years has it been? The ancient heavenly court will only open in another 40 years. He actually broke through to the void fragmentation realm in such a short time. What a monster. He's worthy of being my disciple. He's indeed different from ordinary people. The old monster looked at the 2 people beside him proudly. One of them was a lady with black hair that flowed like a waterfall and white robes. The other person was an old man in gray robes. His face was pale and his hair was white. His pupils were golden in color. The lady's cultivation base was close to the void refinement realm. She had a peerless beauty with a plum blossom on her temple. Her eyes were like orchids in an empty valley and her temperament was as cold as a sword. Her cold eyes rippled when she heard Ning Fan's news. She raised her palm and looked at the indistinct one-heart sword seal on the back of her hand. Little Devil Ning has already reached the void fragmentation realm. The old man's aptitude is monstrous and the young one's aptitude is even more monstrous. They're indeed master and disciple. She was little Dugu who had formed the one-heart sword seal with Ning Fan. The old monster's smile became even more proud after hearing little Dugu's words. Suddenly, he thought of something and smiled wretchedly. He then said to the other person beside him. Old Xia, can you do me a favor? A favor? I'm just a nodding acquaintance with you. The reason why I'm protecting you in the sword world is because of the divine cultivation method you have. I've said before that I will only protect you from death for 100 years. I won't help you with anything. Hey, don't say that. It's just a small favor. Hee hee. To you, it's just a matter of running around. I want you to help me deliver a letter. Deliver a letter? To who? The golden-eyed old man was startled. To my disciple, Rain Sovereign Ning Fan. To you, going from the sword world to the rain world only takes the time it takes for an incense stick to burn. Are you really not going to help me with such a small favor? I have a deep friendship with you. I won't help you for nothing. This time, what price do you have to pay in exchange for my help? The golden-eyed old man's tone was indifferent. Cut, cut, cut. I've never seen someone as stingy as you in my life. Take it. The old monster took out a jade slip and imprinted something on it. The golden-eyed old man took the jade slip and glanced at it. His indifferent face immediately showed a hint of surprise. This reward is sufficient. Fine, I'll make a trip to the sword dimension on your behalf. I haven't been there for many years. When I went there in the past, I met a junior. He seemed to be called Zhou Chen. His sword intent was quite unique. Where's the letter? Here. The old monster took out a black jade slip and imprinted some words on it. Then, he passed the jade slip to the golden-eyed old man. The golden-eyed old man took the black jade slip. Without saying anything, he raised his hand and drew a line in front of him. A world passage to cross worlds appeared. His chi was vaguely that of a loose immortal. There didn't seem to be any loose immortals in the sword world of the three lower realms. He took a step forward and his body turned into a golden sword light. In a flash, he had already gone far away. His speed was far faster than a loose immortal or even a life immortal. It was comparable to a true immortal. He was clearly a loose immortal, but his speed was comparable to a true immortal. Old man Han, who is this senior? Is he really a cultivator of the sword world? I've never heard of his name. Little Dugu's beautiful eyes were filled with doubt. Old man Xia is indeed a cultivator of the sword world. It's very normal that you haven't heard of him. I've just started cultivating, but his cultivation base was already exceedingly high. When I broke through to the true crossing realm, I was only on par with him. He's a loose immortal, but I'm afraid there's no loose immortal who's more powerful than him in this world. Don't tell anyone about him, not even your father. TCH, I'm too lazy to tell. I already know about little devil Ning. I'm leaving. Seeing you annoys me. You better think of a way to save my sister quickly. Little Dugu took a step forward and turned into a sword light, disappearing without a trace. When he was alone, the old monster's face gradually revealed a hint of desolation. The Tao Earth will only be unsealed after a few decades. Although little Ning has broken through to the void fragmentation realm, he still can't plant the yin-yang Tao fruit. Little Mei, I still have to wait for a few decades to plant the Tao seed. I still have to wait for a few hundred years to harvest the Tao fruit and save you. Will you wait for me? Rain World. A few days had passed since Ning Fan killed Zhao Banji and his group. There were only a total of 100,000 Tao crystals in their storage pouches. Ning Fan was not interested in the other things. After that, Ning Fan summoned Li Long, who was far away in the middle state, and ordered him to stay in 7 Apricot City. He also asked Li Long to slightly reveal his 7 shattering realm in front of countless cultivators. He had to intimidate all the worlds to maintain the stability of the Rain World and the safety of 7 Apricot City. He held several pieces of information in his hands. Some of them were about the 3 Worlds sect, the Mountain World, the Devil World and other worlds. When the news of 7 shattering realm guarding the Rain World spread, the 3 Worlds sect and the Mountain World no longer made any moves, as if they had temporarily given up on their hostility towards him. The Devil World also remained silent. That was how it seemed on the surface, but Ning Fan had no idea what the truth was. He still asked Li Long to stay in 7 Apricot City. If Ning Fan was not in the Rain World, as long as Li Long was here, 7 Apricot City would be safe unless Sui Ba came personally. 7 Apricot City still had Mu Luo. If Mu Luo ignited his demon soul, he could display the power of a loose demon for a certain period of time. Even if a loose immortal came, he would not be able to do anything to him. After that, his demon soul would be burnt and he would die. This kind of situation was not what Ning Fan wanted to see. I am already at the second heavenly layer of the void fragmentation realm. This cultivation level is enough for me to protect myself. However, it is not enough to protect everyone behind me. If I have a 5th heavenly layer cultivation level, I don't need to be afraid even if I have a 6th heavenly layer cultivation level. If I have a 6th heavenly layer cultivation level, with my abilities, it is enough to sweep across the 3 middle realms. As long as I am here, in 7 Apricot City, the wind and snow were silent. Ning Fan stood in the Sea Fan Palace, stepping on the thick layer of snow. He looked at the winter plum blossoms that were blooming at night in silence. All of a sudden, his eyes revealed an extremely shocked expression. He turned around and looked behind him. Unknowingly, an elderly man in gray robes with golden pupils had appeared behind him. This elderly man had a loose immortal cultivation level. However, the pressure that he gave Ning Fan was far greater than anyone else in the 9 worlds. He had once felt this kind of pressure from the realm beast. The realm beast was an expert at the Dujin realm. Who was this elderly man? He was actually stronger than the realm beast. Why would there be such an expert in the 9 worlds? Little friend, you don't need to be nervous. This old man has no evil intentions in coming here. I am here to deliver a letter to you on behalf of your master. The golden-eyed elderly man pointed his finger. A ray of black light flew towards Ning Fan out of nowhere and turned into a black jade slip. Is this person here to deliver a letter on behalf of my master? Ning Fan's heart slightly relaxed, but he still didn't let down his guard. He raised his hand to catch the black jade slip. After checking that there was no mistake, he scanned the contents with his spirit sense. It was indeed a letter from the old monster. Spirit sense couldn't be faked. Moreover, the old monster mentioned in the letter that the golden-eyed sword cultivator in front of him was one of his own. His surname was Xia and he was an old senior. Ning Fan didn't need to be courteous with him. How can I not be courteous? Ning Fan smiled bitterly. From the old monster's tone, he could vaguely tell that this golden-eyed elderly man wasn't a good friend of the old monster. If it was Wei Xian, the old monster's brother, Ning Fan might be thick-skinned enough to ask for some benefits. If it was this golden-eyed elderly man, Ning Fan wouldn't do such a stupid thing. It would only make others look down on him. The main purpose of this letter from the old devil was actually something else. In the past, the old monster took Ning Fan as his disciple because he wanted to plant the Dao fruit using Ning Fan's yin and yang power to save his wife. Although the relationship between him and Ning Fan gradually deepened, he didn't forget his original intention. The old monster told Ning Fan about his original intention of taking him as his disciple without hiding anything. He also told Ning Fan that the Dao soil where the Dao fruit was planted would need another 10 years to be unsealed. That was why Ning Fan didn't have to rush to the Sword World. Instead, he should make preparations for the trip to the ancient heavenly court and seek for a great fortune. There's no need to rush to the Sword World. Ning Fan kept the jade slip in silence and cupped his fists at the golden-eyed elderly man. Thank you for sending this letter, Senior. You're welcome. This old man has received some benefits from your master. It's only natural for me to contribute some effort. I also know that your master didn't give me such a great benefit just to send a letter. Most likely, he wants me to bestow you some fortune. This sword. The golden-eyed elderly man suddenly reached out his hand and grabbed Ning Fan's storage pouch. All of a sudden, a ray of golden sword light flew out from Ning Fan's storage pouch and went into the golden-eyed elderly man's hand. That sword was none other than the Emperor Xia's sword that Ning Fan obtained from the Tree World. It's been many years since we last met. I didn't expect to see this sword again. That year, I was still traveling in the Tree World. This sword accidentally hurt a righteous man. It's inauspicious and I abandoned it in the deep valley. I didn't expect this sword to be in your hands. It seems like we're fated to meet. The golden-eyed elderly man's mind moved. The Emperor Xia's sword immediately turned into a ray of golden light and flew back into Ning Fan's storage pouch. Ning Fan's eyes widened. This golden-eyed elderly man is really impressive. He just raised his hand and snatched the Emperor Xia's sword from my storage pouch. Judging from his words, he's the former owner of the Emperor Xia's sword. The old monster said that this person's surname is Xia. Could it be that he's Emperor Xia? Oh. You still have this item? The fate between us is indeed not shallow. The golden-eyed elderly man seemed to have discovered something. He pointed at Ning Fan's storage pouch, and 2 dragon pearls, one black and one white, immediately flew out from the pouch and landed on his palm. The Yin-Yang Dragon Pearl. In the past, I've also fished for the Yin-Yang Dragon Pearl. Unfortunately, it came too late. I don't need it anymore. Thus, I abandoned it. Fine. Since we're fated to meet, I'll bestow you some opportunities. Your sword intent is quite similar to mine. Lock. Sword light suddenly flashed in the golden-eyed elderly man's eyes. An earth-shattering sword intent immediately locked onto Ning Fan. The strength of that sword intent was enough to instantly kill a life-immortal realm expert. The strength of that sword intent gave Ning Fan a feeling that he could not win against it. It was as if Ning Fan would be cut into countless pieces by that sword intent with just a single thought from the elderly man. What surprised Ning Fan was that the Emperor Xia's sword intent that he had comprehended from the Emperor Xia's sword was rapidly improving under the elderly man's help. Minor accomplishment, grand accomplishment, perfection. After perfection, it would be the 9th grade. The elderly man had actually given Ning Fan some of his Emperor Xia's sword intent, allowing Ning Fan's sword intent to reach the 9th grade sword intent realm. This is all I can help you with. If you want your sword intent to improve to a higher grade step by step, it all depends on your own luck. Our fate has come to an end. I'm leaving now. As soon as he finished speaking, the golden-eyed elderly man lifted his hand and tore open a passage in the world. He turned into a ray of sword light and entered the passage, disappearing in an instant. Ning Fan no longer had the time to ponder. He immediately sat cross-legged on the snowy ground and stabilized his sword intent. In 7 Apricot City, the little demoness eyes were filled with astonishment. It's him. He's suppressing his cultivation base and deliberately not breaking through to the life-immortal realm. However, his strength is comparable to a true immortal realm expert. He's the Sword Emperor of the Sword World 6 million years ago.